normal. So just listen to your body, take it easy in the class this morning if you need to. We'll be flowing through our back bending class, moving into our mermaid pose. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll take our 2 blocks and come to lying on our blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use a rolled mat or a pillow underneath your back just to feel a little bit of lift if you want. Otherwise, just lie flat on your back. So I've placed my bottom block on its narrow edge, and I'm going to lie my rib cage and lie the block between my shoulder blades. And then the top block is at its highest to support the head and neck. You could also have the blocks lower if this felt a little bit intense. You could have your bottom block flat and then your top block at its middle height. So I'll just give you a few moments to settle into that. And then when you're ready, we'll cross the legs in Sukhasana, easy pose that we did yesterday, to feel a little bit of opening and external rotation in the hips. So maybe you're just lying flat like this or on a cushion or your blocks. Make sure that your back doesn't feel uncomfortable at all, but that your support is just helping to lift your chest. And then when you're ready, bring your arms into cactus position with bent elbows, feeling a gentle stretch across the chest. And with cactus arms, you're gently going to bring your elbows down a little bit and then bring your arms and elbows up a bit. So you're just gliding your arms in cactus up and down. Moving with your breath. Inhale as you take the arms up. Exhale as you bring the elbows down. And just taking a few breaths in your cactus arms. Feeling a nice big stretch across the chest to help us open up for back bends. Take 2 more rounds of this. Just easing into your body this morning. And then when you're ready, take both arms overhead and hold your elbows above your head. So right hand holds left elbow, left hand holds right elbow, and then just let your arms drop back towards the floor as we feel a little stretch here into the triceps as we move into shoulder flexion with our arms. Feeling that stretch through the sides of your body as you go on lengthening up through your arms.
The audio of my computer's not working, so I can see it.
And then when you're ready, change the hold of your elbows so the other arm comes on top. And then feeling that stretch into the triceps. Working into your shoulder flexion. Reach through your elbows so you can feel a nice stretch through the sides of your body into your ribs as well. Take one more deep breath here in this stretch. And then gently we're going to lower the arms down to your sides and use your hands just to gently prop yourself up, come back up to sitting and move your blocks off to one side. And then uncross the legs and lie back onto your back. On your back, we'll come into a figure 4 stretch. So cross your right ankle over your left thigh and press the right thigh away from you to feel the opening in the hip. And then taking hold of the back of the left leg, maybe the back of the thigh, or around the front of the shin if you want a bigger stretch. Feel a little opening into the right glute. And just take a few breaths here as you relax your shoulders back onto the mat. No tension in your neck. As we start to feel a little bit of external rotation in the hips in for our peak pose later on in pigeon, moving into mermaid. So here we'll take hold of our bottom foot. What's quite nice to move into it is take your left toes over towards the right side of the mat. And then twist towards the left, grounding the right sole of foot on the left side of the mat. And then you'll notice your left foot is a little bit closer for you to reach for your left foot with your right hand. If you need to shuffle a little bit in order to find your foot, feel free to. Draw your heel gently in so you can feel a little stretch into the quads, your thighs on the left side. Gently we release, bringing legs back through the center, changing legs over to the other side. Crossing your left ankle over your right thigh, pressing the left thigh away from you. Taking hold of the back of the right thigh or shin, wherever's feeling good this morning. And take a few breaths here as you settle into your figure four stretch. Finding an opening, a stretch into the outer left hip, thigh, glute area. Relax your shoulders, relax your neck back onto the mat. Take a few deep breaths here. All right, as we move into a twist with a little quad stretch, try to take your right toes over towards the left side of the mat. As you twist your left foot towards the right side of the mat. If your ankle has left your bottom thigh, that's also okay. Reach your left hand down to hold your right foot and find a little quad stretch here in our twisted figure four. Shuffle if you need to, and then take 2 deep breaths here, feeling that opening in the bottom thigh. Slowly we begin to release. Uncross the legs, take hold of the back of your knees and gently roll yourself up to child's pose. So popping feet off to one side or rolling over feet and ankles. For child's pose, we bring big toes together and knees apart, walking your hands forwards out in front of you and resting your forehead onto the mat. In your child's pose, go on reaching your fingertips forwards, creating length in the sides of your body, fully extending your arms and reaching out through your fingertips. In your child's pose, gently walk your hands over to the right side, aligning your chest over your right thigh until you feel a stretch running down the left side of your body. Take a few deep breaths here into that side stretch. And then walking back past the center all the way over to the left side, bringing your chest over your left thigh, finding the stretch down the right side of your body and settling into your side stretch in child's pose. Nice deep breaths here. Then we bring our hands back to center. Bring your elbows onto the mat and bring your palms together in prayer. In your child's pose, reach your fingertips forwards and then bend your elbows to take your hands towards the back of your head. And then in your child's pose with bent arms, hands in prayer, see if you can slide your elbows forwards a little bit more to increase the stretch in your triceps. Feel that your chest is almost releasing down towards the mat, also helping to open up into those shoulders. If this is enough, stay here. If you would like to take Gumukasana arms and bind your hands, you can extend your left arm out to the side. Turn your thumb towards the floor and extend your left arm behind you. And then bending the left elbow, maybe you're reaching your left fingertips to find your right fingertips behind. If this feels too strong on the shoulders today, keep hands in prayer. It can be a very strong stretch. If you are here with Gumukasana arms, think of bringing your left shoulder blade in towards the spine. So we're trying not to round through the left shoulder, but gently open it back. Take one more breath here. And then slowly release, moving over to the other side. If you are, you're extending right arm out to the side, turning thumb to the floor, bending the elbow and finding your binding Gumukasana arms. Opening the right shoulder away from the mat and sliding your left elbow forwards, feeling stretch in triceps on the left and pecs on the right. And then slowly releasing the arms, extend your hands forwards and just release out in your child's pose. Take a few more breaths here. Relax any tension from those shoulders now. Moving up onto hands and knees, bringing your hands underneath your shoulders, knees directly underneath your hips. Spread your fingers, open your palms. As you move through a few rounds of cat-cow, warming the spine, inhale to gaze up, gently arch your spine. Don't scrunch your neck, but feel your shoulder blades moving down your back to help lift your chest. And then on your exhale, we round through the spine, push the hands into the mat, gentle tuck of the tailbone to feel a stretch along the back. Moving with our breath as we inhale, gaze up gently to arch the spine and open across your chest. And on your exhale, rounding through the spine, gazing to the belly button, pushing the mat away. Continue for 3 more rounds with your own breath. Inhale forwards and exhale back. Continue to flow with your rhythm of your breath as you move through your cat-cow, just feeling a nice stretch and warming up through the spine. After your last one, come back to a neutral spine position and extend your right leg back behind you. Float your right leg off the ground. Keep your chest lifted. Bend your right knee to like a scorpion tail shape, drawing your heel towards your bum. Inhale, lift your chest, gaze forwards. Lean a little forwards over your wrist and a tiny baby chaturanga with a scorpion tail as you squeeze your elbows into your ribs. Lift your back thigh up, keep your chest open. Exhale, push back up. Bring knee to nose and take a big step forwards into a low lunge. Bringing the hands forwards and settling into the hips, keeping the chest lifted. Take a few breaths here, settling into your low lunge. Slumping to your left leg back, so you're not on your kneecap, you're resting more onto the top of the thigh as you bend your left knee for a quad stretch. Place your left hand flat on the floor and see if you can reach your right hand back and maybe take hold of your left foot. If it's feeling a little bit strong this morning, just reach back with your knee bent. Otherwise, holding the foot, drawing heel in gently to feel a stretch into the quads. Lean head back and open your chest. Gently release the back foot. Ground through the hands a little bit closer towards you. Kick your right leg back behind, once again bending the knee, drawing heel to bum. Shift your weight onto your right hand as you extend your left hand back this time. Reach back. Maybe you're taking hold of your right foot with your left hand, or maybe just reaching back. If you've got hold of your foot, kick your foot gently into your hand and reach your toes up towards the ceiling. Opening the chest, keep pushing off your right hand. Take one more deep breath here. And then slowly we release and grounding back onto all fours. You'll feel that on the other side, extending your left leg straight back, floating the leg, and then drawing heel to bum. Keep pressing your thigh up nice and high. Inhale to look forwards, lean forwards. Keep the lift in your chest. As we go into a little baby chaturanga with the scorpion tail, keep pressing your left thigh up nice and high. Chest open, look forwards. Slowly push to straighten the arms, knee to nose. Step forwards, low lunge. Walk the hands forward, settle into the hips, coming into your low lunge. Take a few breaths here to settle in. Shoulders down, chest is still lifting. And then make sure you, on the top of your right thigh as you bend your right knee, try not to rest too strongly on your kneecap, it might be uncomfortable. Take extra padding if you need to, it can feel a little bit strong on the knee. If you're okay here, shift your weight into your right hand, reach your left hand back, reaching for the foot, opening the chest. Maybe you're taking hold of your foot, drawing your heel a little bit in towards the bum, increasing the stretch for the thigh. If your left leg's opened up a bit more like a lizard leg, that's also fine to allow a little bit more space. Lean the head back, lift your chest. One more big breath here. Slowly we release to ground back through the hands. Bringing the hands back a little bit further back, extending the left leg straight back, once again bending the knee. Shift your weight onto your left hand as you reach right hand back for the left foot. Reach back. Maybe taking hold of the foot, in which case you're going to kick your foot into your hand, lean head back, open the chest, go on lifting your toes up towards the ceiling. One more deep breath here. And then slowly we release, coming back onto all fours. Good. From all fours, step the feet back into plank. Find your plank, spread your fingers, strong arms, active legs. And then slow push into downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal out the feet or bend and stretch the knees, whatever you need to in your first down dog of the day. And then holding in your downward dog, go on lifting the hips and pushing your hands into the mat, relaxing your neck in your down dog. Gazing to the top of the mat, option to walk, step, or jump between your hands. Hands to shins for a halfway lift, press chest forwards. Exaggerate a little bit more action in your shoulder blades coming together and your chest lifting, keeping the back of your neck long. A little bit more of a gentle sensation of feeling a back bend here in your halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold, head down, hands in line with feet, relax the back of your neck. Rising up to standing, high mountain. Reach up through your arms, and if you're feeling up for a little back bend, just by lifting your chest, not overarching in the lower back, just lifting your chest, little back bend in Hastasana. And then arms resting to your sides. Coming back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Take a few breaths here to ground. When you're ready, inhale, both thumbs up, high mountain, reach up. Drop the right arm down to your side and reach to the right. Lateral stretch, side stretch over to the right. Keeping hips and shoulders pointing forwards. Inhale, both arms reach up. Exhale, left arm releases to your side, side stretch over to the left. Keep your shoulders pointing forwards. Roll that right shoulder up to the ceiling. Inhale, both arms lift. Little back bend if it feels good. Exhale, slow forward fold coming down. Hands in line with feet, relax the back of your neck. Hands to shins, halfway lift, press chest forwards. Lift your chest, feel those shoulder blades coming together, lengthening the back of the neck. Grounding through the hands, stepping back into plank. And a slow, strong push to move into downward facing dog. Right leg extends up, three-legged dog. Keep pushing into the hands, allow the hips to open today. Bend your right knee, tipping your heel over towards the left hip. Allow the right knee to lift and the hip to open, feeling a nice big opening in the hip. Just holding here for a breath. Coming back to three-legged dog. Step forwards between your hands. Lower the left knee down for Anjaneyasana. Inhale, arms up. Low lunge with a back bend. Reach up through the sides of the body. Lunge deep into the front leg. And release right arm down, side stretch over to the right. Keeping shoulders pointing forwards. Inhale, arms up. Cactus your arms, little back bend, lift your chest. Inhale, arms up. Circle your hands behind you, interlace the fingers, straighten the arms, inhale, little back bend, drawing your wrists away from your hips to feel that opening in the chest. Good. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down, sweeping the right leg back into three-legged dog. Back to downward facing dog. Over to the left. Left leg rises, three-legged dog. Allow the hips to open. Bend the left knee and draw your left heel over towards the right sit bone, right hip. Feel a nice opening in that hip. Keep pushing off both hands. Turn back to three-legged dog. Step forwards, Anjaneyasana, crescent moon pose. Lower the back knee down and inhale both arms up. Reach up, lengthen through the sides of the body. Lunge deep. Releasing left hand down, side stretch over to the left. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, cactus arms, little back bend, lifting the chest. Inhale, arms up. Circling your hands behind you, interlace your fingers. Inhale, straighten the arms, draw wrists away from hips, little back bend. Inhale. Release, arms up, reach up. Hands come back to the mat. Sweep left leg back, three-legged dog. And back into downward facing dog. Breathing here in your down dog. Gazing to the top of the mat, option to walk, step, or jump to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift, press your chest forwards. Exhale to forward fold, relax the back of the neck. Rising up to standing, high mountain, little back bend if it feels good. Inhale, lift your chest. And exhale, releasing arms to your sides, grounding back in Tadasana, mountain pose. Come back to your breath. Relax any tension from neck and shoulders. Take a moment to ground. Taking that a little bit deeper now as we bend the knees, coming to Utkatasana, chair pose. Sit nice and deep into the legs, weight into the heels, inhale, arms up. Circle your hands behind you, interlace the fingers, little back bend in your Utkatasana, straightening the arms, lifting your chest. Try not to throw the head back, neck in line with spine. Straighten the legs as you keep your fingers interlaced, forward fold, and allow the arms to gently tip over. Relax the neck. Release the hands, hands to shins, halfway lift. Press chest forwards. Hands to the mat, step back, plank. Spreading fingers, strong straight arms, active legs. Take a breath in your plank. And slowly pushing into downward facing dog. Use those arms. Lifting the hips high in your downward dog. From down dog, right leg comes up, three-legged dog. Allow the hips to open. Again, bend the right knee, take your heel over towards the left sit bone. Option to stay here if this is enough, or step your right foot to the outside of the mat into a wild thing, press hips up. Flipping the dog, reaching up. Lift the hips, lift the chest, inhale. Exhale, bring it all the way back. Three-legged dog, right leg up. Stepping forwards between the hands for high lunge. Check knee stacked over ankle, back leg straight. Inhale, arms up. Reach up in your high lunge, little back bend. Good. Right arm drops to the right, sides bend over to the right side. Inhale, arms up, reach up. Exhale, cactus arms, little back bend. Inhale, arms up. Circle the arms behind you, interlace the fingers. Inhale, lift your chest. Ground your back heel like a warrior one leg. And then forward fold your chest on the inside of your right thigh for humble warrior pose. Keeping the fingers interlaced, reach the arms up towards the ceiling and relax the back of your neck. Keep bending deep into the right leg. Release the hands and ground your hands back to the mat, turning back into the ball of the back foot. Right leg up, three-legged dog. And back into downward facing dog. Reaching the left leg up for three-legged dog. Inhale, opening up the hips. Bending the left knee, tipping heel off to the right sit bone. Option to stay here or flip your dog, stepping the foot out, pressing hips and shoulders up to the ceiling, reaching top arm overhead. Beautiful. Bring it back to three-legged dog, left leg up, inhale. Stepping forwards for high lunge. Knee stacks over ankle, back leg strong and straight. Inhale, arms up. Reach up in your high lunge. Left arm releases down, side stretch over to the left. Keep shoulders pointing forwards. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, circling the arms behind you. Inhale, lift your chest, little back bend. Round the back foot, forward fold, humble warrior pose. Relax the back of the neck. Reach arms up to the ceiling. Keep lunging left knee over left ankle. Release the hands, turn back into the ball of the back foot. Left leg up, three-legged dog. And coming back into downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here in your downward dog to ground. Gazing to the top of the mat, option to walk, step or jump to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Rising to standing, high mountain, reach up, little back bend. Lift the chest. And then arms relax to your sides. Back into Tadasana. Back to your breath. Eyes open, bending the knees, sweep into Utkatasana, chair pose, brushing fingertips across the mat, weight into the heels, arms up, squeeze knees together. Bring hands into the center of your chest, twist towards the right, hook left elbow to right outer thigh. Twisted chair pose, lean head back, twist chest open. Feel your weight on your right foot. Left foot becomes lighter to step back into a twisted high lunge. Inhale, arms up, high lunge. Lift your chest. Turning into warrior two, ground your back heel. Turn to the side of the mat, open out into warrior two. Right knee is bent. Press that right thigh out. Lean back so shoulders stack over hips. Arms level on each side, gaze forwards towards the right hand. Inhale, straighten arms and legs, turn feet to the front, star pose. Transition left foot out 90 degrees, right toes turning, side angle pose on the left side. Bend the left knee, hand comes to the mat. Sweeping your right hand down towards the mat, and then over in line with your right ear. Lean head back, twist chest open. Lunge deep, keep knee stacked over ankle. Stay with your warrior two legs as you reverse your warrior with Gomukhasana arms. So bending the left elbow, sweeping right hand behind. Good. If it's too much with the arms, you can also just hold your left elbow, feeling into that little tricep stretch like Lynn did yesterday. Yes. Slowly release the arms and windmill your hands to the back of the mat. Turn back into the ball of the back foot. Left leg sweeps up, three-legged dog. And back into downward facing dog. Facing the back of your mat in down dog. Come back to your breath. Right leg rises up, three-legged dog. Step forwards between your hands. Open out into goddess pose. Circular flow facing the other side of your mat. Bending the legs into goddess, cactus your arms, lift your chest, little back bend. Inhale, straighten arms and legs for star. Exhale, press the thighs out, little back bend, cactus arms. Two more, inhale to straighten. Exhale, cactus, little back bend and goddess. Last time, inhale, straighten. Exhale, goddess, cactus. Inhale, straighten, turn back to the front of the mat. Hook your right ankle over your left thigh, come into a standing figure four. So deep into the legs. Option to stay here in standing figure four, or take hold of the right inner arch of the foot for dancer's pose. If you're moving into dancers, left arm up. First, kick your toes into your hand to create the bow shape of dancers. Only once you can't lift your leg anymore do you lean forwards, kicking toes up, toes up, toes up, toes up. One more breath wherever you are. And then slowly release. Come back to standing, Tadasana, mountain pose. Back to breath. We'll flow through that on the other side, bending the knees, sweep into Utkatasana, chair pose. So back into the heels, sit low. Hands to the center of the chest. Twist to the left, hooking right elbow to left outer thigh. Lean the shoulders back to twist your chest open, bringing hands towards the center of the chest. Weight is on your left foot. Right foot becomes lighter to take a big step back, moving through a twisted high lunge. And then arms up, high crescent lunge. Reaching up. Ground the back foot, turn to the side, warrior two. Pressing that left thigh out, leading the shoulders back to stack over the hips, gaze forwards. Straighten the legs, swap the feet. Through star pose, we turn the right foot up, left toes in, and then move into side angle pose to the left. Sweeping left hand down, and then over in line with the ear, lean head back, twist chest open. Keeping the lunge, reverse your warrior with Gomukhasana arms, or just hold the top elbow, feeling the stretch into the tricep. Still lunging deep. Release to windmill the arms to the back of the mat, grounding through the hands, turn back into the ball of the back foot. Right leg sweeps up, three-legged dog. And back to downward facing dog. Facing the back of the mat, coming back to your breath in down dog. Left leg rises up, three-legged dog. Stepping forwards between the hands. Coming up into a goddess pose. Bending the knees, opening the chest, goddess squat with cactus arms, little back bend. Inhale to straighten arms and legs, star. Exhale, cactus, little back bend. Bending the knees, pressing thighs out. Inhale to straighten star. Exhale, cactus, lift the chest, press the thighs open. Last time, inhale to straighten. Exhale, goddess squat. Inhale, straighten arms and legs. Windmill your arms back to the front of the mat. Oh, sorry. Before you windmill down, keep hands in the center of your chest. We're going into figure 4. Crossing left ankle over right thigh. Figure 4 stretch. Option to stay here in your figure 4 or moving into dancer's pose, holding the inside arch of the left foot. Right arm reaches up. Before you fold, you kick your foot up as high as possible at the back. Lift through the thigh. Look forwards, find drishti, lean forwards if you're in your dances. Hold for one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly coming back upright, releasing both feet down, Tadasana. Back to breath. Back to center. We ground. Inhale, arms up, high mountain, little back bend if it feels good. Exhale, forward fold, head down, relax the neck. Inhale to a halfway lift, press chest forwards, lengthen spine. And then grounding through the hands, step or jump back into plank. Prepare for our chaturanga. Bring your knees to the ground. Find your kneeling plank position. Look forwards, lean forwards. 10-second chaturanga, slowly down in 10. Elbows in, 9, 8, collarbones open, 7. Keep leaning forward, 6, 5, shoulder blades coming together, chest is opening, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming to lying down. Point your toes straight back. Inhale, baby cobra, like we did yesterday. Little cobra curl. Could you lift your hands off the floor? You're using your back to hold you in cobra. Bringing shoulder blades together and down. Back of the neck is long. Inhale. And exhale, lower the chest back down. Push up to hands and knees. Tuck toes. Back into downward dog. Right leg sweeps up, 3-legged dog. Take your right knee into pigeon. Remember, we want to take that knee wide out to the side. So as you come down, your knee should be on the outside of your right wrist. So make sure you've taken it nice and wide. Slide your left leg back so you've settled and grounded through the hips, and then forward fold. Walk your hands to the right. Find a stretch down the left side of the body in pigeon. And then walking hands past the center and over to the left, stretching the right side of the body. And coming back to center, bring your left elbow onto the mat with your forearm parallel to the front of the mat. Twist right arm up to the ceiling. Don't sink into your bottom shoulder. Press your forearm into the mat. Twist chest open. Release, change side. Right forearm parallel to the front of the mat. Left arm reaches up. And slowly release. Come up onto your hands. Bring your right hand to the center of the mat on your fingertips so you're feeling upright. Bend your left knee. If you needed to, again, shuffle that thigh back so that you're not resting on your kneecap. You want to rest more onto your thigh. If you can, take hold of the foot and gently draw your heel in towards you. And then you can press your foot away from you, kick your foot into your hand. And then exhale, heel comes towards you. So here you should start to feel that you've got a stable base as you draw your leg in and out. That at any moment you could lift your right hand and that you feel that your legs are stable and you could balance here without your hands. Good. Hold for one more breath in that quad stretch. Lift through the chest. Push down gently through your right shin. and then ground through the hips. Slowly release the back foot, tuck toes. Kick that right leg up, three-legged dog. Back into downward facing dog. Roll forwards into plank. Kneeling chaturanga or full chaturanga if you're feeling up for it. 10 seconds, 10, 9, elbows in, 8, 7, lean forward, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cobra or upward facing dog. Lifting the chest, shoulder blades coming together. Gently release, or if you're an up dog, push back into downward facing dog. From downward dog, left leg rises up, three-legged dog. Left knee wide out to the side for pigeon. If you look down, your knee should be on the outside of your left wrist. You've made it wide to find a stable base. Shuffle your right leg back, getting a little deeper into the hips, and then forward folding pigeon. Walk hands over to the left side. Find a side stretch in your pigeon. And then walking hands over to the right side. Nice side stretch through the left side of the body. Coming back to center. Right elbow and forearm parallel to twist. Left arm up, twisted pigeon. Don't sink into your bottom shoulder. Push your elbow into the mat to lift your chest. Breathe in. Exhale, release, change arms. Left elbow down, right arm reaches up. Lean the shoulders back to help twist the chest open. And exhale, release. Come up onto your hands. This time your left hand comes towards the middle as you bend your back knee. Reach your right hand back to hold your foot. Draw your heel gently in towards the sit bone and then kick your foot away. So we're just adding a little bit of dynamic stretching there, drawing heel to bum and then stretching away. And as you do this, maybe you can feel like you don't need your left hand, but that you could balance here by pushing gently through your left shin and foot, but still keeping the hips quite deep and grounded. Last breath here as you draw heel to bum. Release the back foot, ground through your hands, kick left leg back, three-legged dog. Back to downward facing dog. Stretch out and ground. Moving into our peak pose now, finding our mermaid from pigeon. So when you're ready, right leg up, three-legged dog. Knee to the outside of the right wrist. Take your time here. It's all about the setup. It's all about finding a stable base. Take that right knee wide so your knee is almost off the edge of your mat. Then shuffle your left leg away from you more so you can feel the weight is on the back thigh. Hips are grounded. Could you lift arms up just here? If not, you need to make yourself wider. Okay. Then bend the back knee. Left hand holds left foot. And this is your first option, is just to reach the right arm up and feel like you've got a stable base. Okay. Second option, try and bring your foot into the crook of your left elbow. And you bring your left hand towards your shoulder. Maybe that's enough. If you feel like you've got a stable base, maybe you reach back like we did with our Gomukhasana arms and bind with your fingertips. Keep pushing gently into the bottom shin. Turn your shoulders and chest lightly towards the front of the mat. And reach up out of the waist. Lengthen through the sides of the ribs. Good. Wherever you are is perfect. If you can just lift your hands and feel a stable base here, that's a huge achievement. Well done. When you're ready, release the back foot, ground through the hands. Tuck back toes, right leg up, three-legged dog. Release it back into down dog. If you're really struggling with the stable base, I'm going to give you another option here on the other side. Let's flow left leg up, three-legged dog. Bring it into pigeon. Make sure that knee is wide. If you have a block, you can also try this with a block if you're struggling to find a stable base. Otherwise, you're just going to go straight through the same steps on the other side. Okay, so make sure, can you lift your hands? If that's tough, pop a block underneath your left thigh or left bum. And then you can sit on the block, which is also quite nice. Okay, you've got that option. We bend the back knee. We reach back for the foot and check. Can we sit here without hands? See if you can find a stable base by having that knee wide and sliding well back on your back thigh. Maybe we're holding, maybe you're bringing your foot into the crook of the elbow. If you're ready, moving to your version of mermaid pose. Wherever you are, go on lifting and lengthening through the ribs. Turn your chest a little bit towards the front, it will be open. Good. Pushing gently off your front shin. One more breath. And then we gently release. Ground through the hands, tuck back toes, stepping back, three-legged dog. Back into your downward facing dog. Good. Let's lower the knees, big toes together, sit back into a child's pose. And just go reaching your arms forwards, creating a little bit of length in the spine. Allow your back muscles to relax, your shoulders to relax. Elbows can rest on the floor, just nice and soft. Extend your arms and gently come up onto hands and knees. Maybe pop your feet up to one side, or you can cross your ankles and feet and roll over the feet to come to sitting with your legs crossed. Do whatever feels most comfortable for your knees. Inhale, reach up through your arms. Exhale, little twist towards the right. Left hand to right knee. Inhale, sit tall. And exhale, gentle twist to the right. Don't force the twist, just an easy twist to the right. Inhale, arms reach up, lengthen the spine. And then an easy twist towards the left. Right hand to left knee, sitting tall. Exhale to turn. Inhale, both arms reach up. And then a little forward fold over the legs. Allowing the spine to softly round. Resting elbows or hands or forehead on the mat. Allow your back to relax. Gently roll up to seated. Note which leg is in front. We'll change it in the moment. Roll back with your sit bones. Float your legs up into a little boat pose, Navasana, with legs bent or straight. Take a breath. And then change the cross of your legs so other leg has come in front. And then forward fold in Sukhasana. Allow your back to relax, your shoulders to soften. Gently bringing your hands back towards you. Uncross your legs. You might need to shuffle your hips forwards to slowly recline down onto your back. When you're ready, bring both knees into your chest. Nice big hug. Maybe with a little rock from side to side, or maybe just being still and feeling that release and pushing the lower back into the mat. Bring your nose between your knees, curl up nice and tight and compact. Hold your right knee and extend your left leg away. Bring your nose towards your right knee, nice and tight. And then change legs. Left knee in, right leg away. Last time, bring right knee into your chest, hold it tight. And then lie back with your right knee into your chest and left leg straight along the floor. With your left hand, draw your right knee across your body, little twist towards the left. Right arm can be in cactus or straight, whatever feels gentle and easy. Slowly coming back to center, hug both knees back into your chest. Curl your nose up to the knees, nice and tight. This time keep your left knee to your chest, right leg extends up, pushing the lower back into the mat. Swap legs, right knee in, left leg out. And one more time, left knee to your chest, keep it tight, and then lower your head onto the mat, keeping left knee to chest, right leg lies flat. Draw your left leg over into a twist towards the right, left arm gentle and easy out to the side. One last deep breath here. And then bringing both knees into your chest, one last big hug. And then moving into our final relaxation, extending legs out along the mat. Relaxing arms to your sides, finding your final relaxation pose in Shavasana. Please make sure that you're warm enough. Take a few moments to settle. A pillow underneath the thighs can feel very restful for the lower back. Or whatever feels good for you today. Some of you are taking the block underneath your hips like we did yesterday because it also feels delicious. Find a comfortable position to rest in. Close your eyes. Turn your gaze down towards your chest. Your awareness down to your breath. You would like to ask at this point before we go through more of our poses?
I've got one question, Laura.
So Lynn, and then we'll come to you, Kirsten. Lynn?
I've got a little bit of arthritis in my elbow, which means there are days when it's perfectly fine, and then there are days when it tweaks quite a lot. And you know when you go into the flip dog,
yes,
and you're on one arm, so I find that really hard.
yes.
Is that okay if I went down onto my elbow and just did the same pose, but on the floor rather than on my hand?
Lynn, I would think that it would be worse on your elbow. It would be very strong on your shoulder. So it is quite a challenging pose, even if your shoulders just aren't the strongest. It's a very hard action because you're kind of rotating with weight on that arm. So I would say just leave it, Lynn. Stay in three-legged dog with your hip open. So you're pretty much getting that nice, lovely stretch like the first one we did, and don't flip it. Okay. Rather, it's just one of those poses that can be potentially a bit dodgy for the shoulder as well as the elbow. So if it niggles, just don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's
Okay,
not
thank you.
important. It's just a fancy move. Kirsten, your question?
Just something in general. I was wondering how your setup in your class would look like if you would teach like in a room, if the mats would be like vertically or horizontally laid out, because yeah, most of the times the classes that I know, the rooms that I know, they are vertically. Now, if I'm thinking of the switching to the back of the mat thing, we sometimes do that as well, and then it's a bit big confusion because everybody's like, what's the teacher doing?
So first of all, as a teacher, we want you to not be demonstrating on your mat. I'm having to do it now just because of the online situation. But when you're teaching a live class, you as a teacher want to be walking around and verbally instructing and only demonstrating if you need to. So in which case you're going to be walking around. So if you turn to the back of the mat, they're just kind of going without needing to look at you. And it actually works quite well. So I normally have the mats vertically, everyone kind of pointing forward. So when they stand in Tadasana at the front of the mat, they're looking to the front of the room. And then I may demo a little bit in the beginning, but then after that, we're up and standing and walking. Because as teachers, we need to be watching our students, offering corrections, modifications, and only jumping in to demonstrate if someone doesn't understand. So then the circular flow then isn't an issue because you're not locked on one single point in the room. That answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And if you were demonstrating, you would just kind of move from the front of the room to the back of the room so that they would see you then at the back of their mats. So it's something you'll just have to get used to. If you want to teach circular flows, I mean, a lot of teachers don't. They kind of just keep you forwards like this. We just bring it in because it's quite fun and just modern vinyasa where we move around a little bit and have a little bit of fun with the choreography of the sequence, but not something you need to do and not something I do in every class.
Okay.
Gary, you have a question?
I just wanted to know, would you be able to explain to us exactly how it's going to work for the pose review assessments?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I know that we've been put into 3 groups. Do we
Yes.
need to, these poses that we're going through in these sessions, do we need to do every single one of those? Or is it like select at random?
Yeah. So basically, we'll first of all meet in smaller groups. So there'll be groups of 5 of you. It'll be an hour-long session. I will call out the poses in English and in Sanskrit. I'll say high lunge, and you will get yourself into high lunge and demonstrate the pose. And then I'll say, okay, left side, and then you'll move into high lunge on the left. And we'll go through all the standing poses, seated poses, everything that is on that list you were emailed in your documents. And it says pose review at the top. Have you all seen that list? Gary, you know the one I'm talking about? So you'll see all the poses on that list. Those will be all the poses that I'm assessing you on. And we'll get it into an hour long, flowing from left to right through every one of those poses. So initially when we meet now, I'm gonna adjust and correct you and give you feedback. Towards the end and towards the final assessment, I won't give you any feedback. I'm just gonna say high lunge, right leg forwards. And you need to show me that you understand exactly where to have your leg, your back leg, your arms, and everything else.
So we don't need, when we do it, we don't need to speak to explain what we're doing.
No, you're gonna demonstrate that you know what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay, so that'll be your pose review. And so from this point on, because after this weekend, you would have learned most of the poses, you can all start practicing from that list, all the poses that you'll be assessed on, okay? So you'll see it starts off with low lunge, lizard pose, high lunge, warrior 3, and you can start going through that in your own time. Sorry. I recommend that you video yourself on your phone, okay? So that you can play it back and then look at what you look like in the pose. It's just a really helpful thing. Catherine and I do it all the time when we're practicing new poses to see, are my legs stacked at 90 degrees? Or am I really lengthening my spine? Because it might feel like you are, but then when you look back and see, you go, oh, actually, I still need to work on this one. So I recommend a little video of yourself in all those poses and just kind of check yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about for the sequencing assessment?
So you don't need to really worry about that now, but I'll go through it just briefly with you. So you've been allocated a sequence. Either you're teaching a back bend, a forward bend, or an arm balance, right? Which one are you teaching, Gary?
I'm doing the back bend, the one we've just done.
Awesome. So you'll see, you won't teach the whole thing. You'll see in the sequencing notes, it says teaching starts here, right? So I think you start in the sun salutation, but if I'm not mistaken, you will record yourself teaching that sequence without demonstration, just verbalizing exactly what's on that list.
Oh, so we don't actually have to do the sequence ourselves and speak at the same time?
Correct. So that's why the demonstration is just the movement, and then the teaching is just the verbalizing of the sequence. So they kind of separated the talking and the doing at the same time. Okay, but don't worry, you'll be guided through that in a lot more detail, but that's kind of just skimming the surface of what you'll be doing. So you can just kind of do the sequence, become a little bit more familiar. Now you know which one you're teaching. You maybe spend a little bit more extra time being focused on that one. But you won't need to do it as you teach it. You'll just speak it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Laura, can I ask a quick question?
Hi, Michelle. Yes.
Hi. I was writing the notes down there. You said in the sequencing, we've got to look at sequencing notes, and where it says, I don't know what you said after that.
So,
You've got to look for
Michelle,
a point.
it's all actually in your email that Catherine sent to you with homework, your last email where you were allocated the sequence. If you look in that email, it actually describes to you exactly what you're doing, maybe even better than I'm. So you'll see you've got an email called Teaching Sequence Allocations. And if you read through the beginning there, it says you just need to memorize the sequence from where it says start here in red and then end here. Okay, so if you read that email, everything is in there and you'll see your sequence and you can just start to get a little bit familiar with it. But we'll go into more detail with it when you get to that.
Okay. Thanks.
For now, pretty much just worry about, am I teaching an arm balance, a forward bend, or a back bend? And when we do those sequences, or when you practice them, going, okay, this is the bit I'm going to teach. So just get familiar with it at this stage. Belinda?
Hi, just a question about the mermaid pose. Remind me where we hold, on the inside or the outside?
Inside of the foot. So like, remember dancer's pose, we hold the inner arch of the foot, so the big toe side of the foot. So that your arm is kind of outwardly rotated. Just like in dancer's pose. Cinchi, can you do that again, please, while you eat your breakfast? She's so sweet. She will show you how you are holding the inside of the foot or inside arch of the foot or ankle while eating. Beautiful, thank you.
And she makes it look so easy.
She's so cute. Dances, right? Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so from this point on, I want you to please start practicing your poses that have been emailed to you in that document for your pose review. Okay, it says asana review. And those are all the poses. We would have learned most of them after this weekend. There are a couple more. Okay. And then you'll be doing them so many times, you'll be so bored of them and know exactly what you're doing by the end. Okay. And the next time I see you next weekend, we'll be meeting in smaller groups so I can look at you a little bit more individually. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do some arm balances this morning. So we'll be starting on page 112, 112. We're just going to talk a bit about downward dog. Okay.
Laura, can I ask how you say it? Shavasana or Savasana?
Adho Mukha Svanasana. So not like Shavasana, like your relaxation. SV, Svanasana. Svanasana. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Otherwise, downward dog, and everyone knows what you're talking about. But otherwise, Adho Mukha Svanasana. I haven't called it that in a long time. I just say downward dog now. Okie dokie. So from which pose do we normally enter downward dog from?
Plank.
Plank. Okay. Which pretty much sorts out a lot of the issues in downward dog. When we come from plank, we have the hands and feet in a nice, long, correct stance. Okay. And pushing, like we've been doing in the classes, pushing from plank into downward dog also helps to get the shoulders into the correct placement. Okay. What is the most important thing in downward dog we should be focusing on?
Hips up.
Hips up. I've drilled it into you a bit now, hey? Hips up towards the ceiling. Okay, so we don't want our bum to be tucked and round in that. We want to point the sit bones up towards the ceiling in downward facing dog. So what if someone has really tight hamstrings and they can't lift their hips? What can we offer them as a modification?
Bend the knees.
Bending the knees. So bending the knees helps to take the tension out of the hamstrings a bit, and then they can lift their hips up more. Just as we felt in those seated poses yesterday, right? Bending the knees helps a lot. And what else can we do with our legs to encourage the lift of the hips?
Push through your thighs. Push down.
Tiptoes.
Tiptoes, going onto the balls of the feet, also encouraging that lifting in the hips. We're definitely drawing the kneecaps up so legs are straight and active, so quads are on. What are we thinking of doing with our hands in downward dog?
Press down through your hand.
Pushing through the hands, yeah? And some need that push more than others, right? We'll have a look at that in the shoulders in a bit. What do we want going on in our spines in downward dog?
Long and straight.
Long, length and spine.
Yeah.
We don't want to be rounding in our lower back or rounding in the upper back. We're almost looking for a nice straight spine in that kind of triangular shape. Okay, so those are the big shapes of the pose. I want to talk a little bit about our shoulders, okay? What are our arms doing in downward facing dog? What do we call that?
Retracting.
Extension.
Flexion.
Shoulder flexion. Our arms are up, right? So if you just sit where you are now and take your arms up overhead, that's what you're doing in downward facing dog. You just got weight on your hands. So we know when our arms are up, what are our shoulder blades doing?
Lifting up.
Yep, they are moving into what they call upwards rotation. Our shoulder blade moves up a little with our arm. So in downward dog, what don't we want to instruct?
Shoulders down.
Shoulder blades down the back.
We don't want to say shoulders down, right? Because that's the opposite to what happens when we take our arms up. Okay, so this is why saying pushing into the hands encourages a little bit of the shoulder blades to lift up. And that's okay. That's what we want in downward dog. Can I show you, I hope I can show it to you clearly, a few different things to be aware of in the shoulders in downward facing dog. And I will see you guys, there we are. And then I'll tell you if you're doing any of these when I see you in smaller groups. So I come from plank and I use that pushing action, and that push is already allowing my shoulder to lift up into upwards rotation in downward dog, okay? And with that, because I'm pushing, it's also helping to lengthen my spine and take the hips up, okay? Look what happens if I pull my shoulders away from the ears. What's happened?
Your neck pokes out.
You
Your back is bending.
All of the above. Okay, so I've lost my length in my spine. I'm totally exaggerating it a bit, right? I've lost the length in my spine. I'm like sitting into my shoulders, and I've lost that action of pushing and moving the hips up and back. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we don't want to cue pulling the shoulders down in downward dog, because it makes you sit into the shoulders. So you're going to feel that now quickly, and then I'll talk about something else. So let's come from plank, and then slowly use your plank here to push ever so slowly into your hands. Use the action of pushing down into your hands to move your hips up. Feel what's happening in your shoulders as you do that. Can you feel your shoulders moving up a little bit towards your ears? And just by cueing it that way, we can get the shoulders into a really nice shape in downward dog quite simply. Okay, now let's do what we don't want. Pull your shoulders away from your ears. How does that feel?
Hurts my neck.
It hurts your neck for Belinda. It shouldn't feel so comfortable in your shoulders. It may feel like a bit compressive and pinchy because you're adding load while you're sinking into your shoulders. Lynn, is your elbow hurting you again?
No. I've always been told to lift up your armpits, but that feels like what you've just said to me about pulling your shoulder blades back, which doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I think it's quite a confusing cue. You can come down if you want, or if you're still feeling it, go for it. I think it's quite a confusing cue to say lift your armpits up. I'm not even quite sure what that means.
That's what a lot of teachers have said that to me.
So maybe they're saying allow your shoulders to lift. I'm not quite sure what they're looking for in that. Basically, always bring it down to something more simple. If we just sit here with our arms going up above our head, that's what we want in downward dog, because it's the exact same shoulder position, shoulder flexion in downward facing dog. Okay, very simply. Okay.
Remind me what you called it, Laura. Shoulder up, when your shoulder blades lift up.
So Belinda, you are asking, what is it called?
When your shoulders lift up. What's it called? Shoulder?
Shoulder moves into upwards rotation. And when the arm moves down the shoulder, it's just the anatomical term. You can just say shoulder moves up, but then when it goes down, it's downwards rotation. When it goes up, it's upwards rotation. And you can feel that if you put one hand on your shoulder blade. When your arm lifts, you'll feel your shoulder blade lifts. It's just natural. Our body just does that. And when the arm goes down, shoulder goes down.
Laura, can I ask a question?
Yes, Michelle.
Do you have any tips for hands sliding forwards on the mat?
Very bad yoga mat, Michelle. You need a good yoga mat. You should never feel like you're sliding in downward dog. Get a new mat.
It's brand new. I got it from Take-A-Lot.
So Michelle, maybe it needs a wash, because new mats also can be a bit funny because they've got this waxy coating. Chuck it in the bath with some sunlight liquid and give it a scrub.
Okay.
That can help. Also, we really recommend the Makana mats. You're in Hout Bay, Michelle, you said?
Yes. Yeah.
They're locally made in Cape Town, and they're using this new rubber that grips like nothing you've ever felt before. You should feel like.
Can you spell it for me? Makana.
M-O-C-A-N-A. Makana. Brilliant mats, locally made in Cape Town.
Thank you.
And it hasn't got those like little bobbly bits that always end up flaking off your mat. It's like a nice strong rubber, and they work like a bomb. They're awesome. It actually changes your practice. A good yoga mat will make you stronger. Because now you're doing the opposite action, Michelle. Instead of being able to push, you're having to pull yourself back so that you don't fall on your face. So very bad. And it may even injure your shoulders and give you sore wrists over time. So sorry about your new yoga mat. Give it a scrub, see if that helps. Otherwise, Makana mat for the win. I should get some money for the amount of yoga mats I sell.
Commission.
A discount code.
Exactly, right? They are also
Are the Makana mats thicker for your knees?
not necessarily thicker, but the type of rubber that they use actually feels quite nice on your knees because it's quite firm. So it doesn't I don't know, it also feels more spongy on your knees, not that it's much thicker. I think you will have to just find what mat you need. If you need a thicker mat for your knees or if you need a thinner mat because it helps to balance with a thinner mat, as long as it grips is the most important thing. So Michelle, you have to be careful on that mat. It's not serving you. It's not serving you well. Someone else had a question. Very good. So does that make sense about the shoulders? Jamie, I could see you feeling that. Does that make sense? Does that feel better in your shoulders? Okay. And the reason why we start this in downward dog, because what other poses do we do this with our arms and then put our weight all on our hands?
Handstand.
Handstand. Yeah. So now you're building that handstand strength in your downward dog. So when you kick up into handstand later on, you're going to push and your arms are going to be strong and hold you there. Okay. Oh, hands are going up after that. So Belinda and then Gary. And
Sorry,
then Candy.
When they cue in yoga classes, they often say, look at your belly button. But if you're actually doing that, you're kind of tucking your head in, which surely you shouldn't do. Am I right?
You're right, Belinda. You are 100% right. So we don't need to look at our belly button. It's very much like an Ashtanga cue, certain styles of yoga cue, different things. What we want is just to relax the neck in line with spine. And then you'll find your ears will roughly be in line with your upper arms. We don't want to pull our head through. Okay. Gary, your question?
What about our elbows and this part?
Yes.
What do you call this?
The elbow, the inner elbow.
Elbow. What do we do with this? Because in a sort of natural downward dog, it's like facing forward, but should we engage it?
So I'm going to talk about that now, Gary, and it also depends on the shape of your arm. So I'll say generally speaking, but sometimes people have elbows that are hyperextended. They might do different things, or sometimes just the shape of your bone structure. But I'm going to talk about that now as we talk about the rotation in the shoulders in downward dog. So I'll come back to that point. And then Candy, your question?
My previous yoga instructor used to always encourage us to try and get our foreheads to the floor.
Wow.
So she was always saying, try and get your feet flat and then get your forehead to the floor. But then isn't it turning into a back? That would be turning
Yes, you're right, Candy. Then it's turning into a back bend in downward dog. So thank you, both of you. I'm going to bring up those 2 points now and demonstrate them for you. Okay. It is spotlighted. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the rotation. So this is what Gary was asking, where's your elbow? I don't think you need to worry about where your elbow is, but have a look. What we don't want in downward dog is our arms rolling in like this, okay? Because now you can see my arms are internally rotated, right? Can you see that? Is the video clear enough? Yeah. Because if I go into downward dog like this with my fingers pointing inwards, let me see if I can bring it back a bit. I'm a bit cramped. Okay. If I go into downward dog like this, it's not going to look very good, first of all, and it's going to feel very uncomfortable for my shoulders. Okay. So we don't want, just feel it where you are now, hands in front of you, fingers rolling in, internal rotation. We don't want that in downward dog, right? Doesn't feel so good.
No.
Bring your hands down, turn your hands out, and then take them up. External rotation is better for the shoulders, okay? But it's a very difficult thing to instruct because you can't tell your students externally rotate your arms with your shoulders in shoulder flexion in Adho Mukha Svanasana. They're not going to know what you're talking about. Okay? So very simply, if I come from plank, okay, so in my plank, can you see, Gary, my inner elbows are pointing forwards.
Yeah.
I've got external rotation in my arms. When I move into downward dog, they turn in a little bit, so my inner elbows point a bit more towards each other, or as you say, a little bit more diagonally. Both is fine. But if we come from downward dog, plank, with awareness of external rotation in our arms, so less kind of load in our shoulders, and then push back and try and keep that. That is what we want to do with our arms. Okay, it's very, very complicated. Okay, so you need to feel it. So if I'm in plank, so let's pretend arms out in front. Your inner elbows are pointing up towards the ceiling, right?
No.
Yeah, and then you move into downward dog like that, and then your inner elbows are pointing a little bit more towards your ears now as they go up. That's what's going to happen in plank and downward dog. What we don't want to see is this in downward dog. Okay, arms rolling in. If you see someone like that, you bring them into plank, and you bring awareness to those arms rolling out, and then into downward dog. We can't adjust it in downward dog because the shoulder flexion is very difficult to do stuff there with load. Okay, and then a lot of shoulders and a lot of arms look very different in downward dog. It's one of those very complex poses where a lot of different bone structures are revealed. What's happening in shoulders, what's happening in forearms, what's happening in elbows. Sometimes people can't straighten their arms, and you've got downward dog like this. It's fine. It's totally, totally fine. Sometimes they're going to look like their elbows are bowing outwards because they've got such hyperextended arms. Okay, so sometimes people look different, and that's also okay because different bone structures will look different. So first, let's just feel the plank into downward dog thing again, looking at the external rotation of your arms. Okay. So if you come from plank, just look at it. It'll naturally probably be happening for most of us. Your inner elbows are pointing a bit forwards, right? Unless you have interestingly shaped forearms. Maybe not. Can you see that in plank? Okay. Then keep that awareness of outwards rotation in your upper arms. Slowly push into downward dog. And then push into your hands, keeping a little bit of outwards rotation. You don't have to force it. How does that feel? Does that make sense, Gary? Where are your elbows pointing now? Inner elbows.
They're like pointing towards each other.
Perfect. That's normal. 100%.
I had a hatha teacher, and that's what he always used to exaggerate in a plank to bring it that, he called it the eye of the elbow, pointing towards each other.
Yeah. Oh, pointing towards each other in plank. That's quite weird.
Like,
can you feel when you do it in plank, Gary, it almost internally rotates your shoulders?
Yeah, like, I just naturally, it's pointing diagonally forward.
Yeah, naturally they point forwards, diagonally or all the way forwards. Perfect, that's normal. And when you go into downward dog, they kind of point more towards each other.
We come in together.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Generally speaking. But some people are different. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Candy, I'm going to come to your question now about hanging shoulders in downward dog. So the push allows for increased shoulder flexion. Okay. So if your arm stops here at about 80 degrees, and I try and take my arm back, it won't go, right? But if I push and reach up, it creates a little bit more space for my arm to move back. Please feel that for a moment, just one arm up. Pull your shoulder away from your ear. So if we try draw down, it reduces our ability to take our arm up. Can you feel that? It feels a bit restrictive. Mm-hmm. Now reach up, allow your shoulder blade to move up with your arm, then take your arm back. Can you feel like it goes more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have tight shoulders, that push is super, super, super helpful. Can you feel? Because it literally takes your arm further back. What if someone has really, really flexible shoulders and it goes too far back? Then I'll show you what their downward dog ends up looking like. This is what you were encouraged to do, Candy.
Yeah.
Hanging in the shoulders. Can you see that?
Yes.
So now I'm in a back bend. Okay.
Right.
We don't want that either. That's like on the other extreme side of the scale, okay? So if someone is hanging in their shoulders like this in a back bend, all you can do to them is say, bring your head up. Do less. Because they end up doing this, and I can't do it very well, but they end up strangely sometimes rounding their back. So they almost lose the length in the spine because they're hanging so much in their shoulders. And it's only those with very flexible shoulders, okay, that will be even able to do it. So if they're hanging in the shoulders like this, we can just say, bring your ears in line with your arms, and then a little bit of a push, but not too much push. Does that make sense? So Candy, that instruction your teacher was giving you, not everyone can even do that because it depends on their shoulder flexion, range of movement. It's quite a crazy thing to encourage. We want to create strength in our downward dog, where that's encouraging more of a back bend, more hanging in the shoulders. And I'm sure most people can't do it.
No. Yeah, I felt like it was always a flop. Like you kind of like, you're not, what do you call it, activating anything. You're just kind of going plop.
Exactly.
So it felt like you're making yourself weaker almost by plopping.
You're just kind of hanging out there. So I'm assuming our flexi dancey girls have a tendency to do that. So it's something we need to watch. Does anyone tend to do that with their shoulders?
Oh.
No?
No way.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, you might see it. You might see it in classes, in which case I just tell them, do less. Sometimes I just say, bring your head in line with your arms. Then they're not pulling their head through like that. And then a little bit of a push, because they don't need as much push because their shoulders are very mobile already, but just to bring them to be strong and stable. Okay, so all of that is very complicated, right? Basically, going from plank and a slow, strong push into downward dog does all of that without you having to get into the nitty-gritty. Okay, so this is why we've been doing it plank, and we've been working that slow, strong push into downward dog in our classes to build that strength. Make sense? And almost sometimes why we haven't gone straight into chaturanga, because we want to build that plank into downward dog strength, and finding that downward dog from plank is super, super helpful. Okay. Very complicated, but doesn't need to be. Go from plank down dog, strong push, you'll be good. Hips up. If you can't take your hips up, bend the knees a little bit and then lift the hips, okay? It doesn't matter if your heels touch the floor. It's about getting your hips up. If your heels touch the floor, cool, no one cares. It's about your hips being up and your spine being long. Happy with down dog?
No.
Laura, I just want to ask, I've been to classes where they always say kind of engage the core when you're trying to lift up your butt. So would that be something that, and I have very tight hamstrings, so when I do that, it kind of helps in a way to get myself up. But is that something that you would cue in a class to kind of get people to get their hips up?
It's an interesting question, and if it works for you, Z, go for it. So if you really contract your abdominal muscles, like seriously, go like, try and work your abs. Now, just as you're sitting. What happens to your spine? It rounds a bit, right? Yeah. So your rectus abdominis, your like six-pack core muscles, if you really work your core, your rectus abdominis rounds your spine. So in downward dog, we don't really want to round the spine, right? We want to lengthen the spine. So it's not something I would necessarily instruct as a beneficial cue that's going to get their hips higher. It might even do the opposite if you really try and rip your abs. Does that make sense? I think it's no harm in a little bit of core activation, but often it's cued unnecessarily. There's a time and place for core to be working, like when we're doing arm balances, like we're going to do more of today, where we are rounding our back, where we are trying to get the tummy to engage and the spine to round, then it's relevant. But if I'm doing a back bend and you say engage my core, it's almost two opposite things.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's done for a reason that you're doing it as a protective thing because you want to do less back bend, then maybe there's a time and place, but not for everyone as a general instruction. Okay, so you don't need to engage your abs in downward dog unless you just that feeling helps you, then that's relevant because all our bodies are different. But not something I would give just generally.
So I've seen a lot of yoga accounts with these, you know, these yoga gurus or the yoga influencers, and they tend to really suck in the bottom part of their core or their abs, and it gives such a sharp V. And I've once seen where they actually say, you know, use a block to kind of put it in between your stomach and your legs to kind of get you to work that peak, but obviously that's on a smaller or closer downward dog, and that's just to kind of get your pelvis to tilt upwards.
So what you said there is correct. You're doing it from your pelvis. You're doing it in hip flexion, right? You're bending from your hips in order to make that triangle. And your tummy's actually not going to do that. Your hips are going to make that triangle closer or further apart, right? Like when we forward fold. And just lift by sucking your tummy in isn't going to change the joints at all. By folding from your hips is going to make that peak. And we see a lot of stuff on Instagram and we laugh because a lot of the time it's so wrong. Like bad, like really bad. It makes no sense at all. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think with a lot of movement, and I think especially yoga, and it's when we look at the anatomy and how our body naturally moves, our questions are answered. But a lot of the times we hear these interesting concepts from gurus, and not all of it's actually anatomically logical.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Great. All right. So you'll see it a lot. You'll see it a lot, and it's tricky. We got to navigate through all the nonsense out there, unfortunately.
And it's like they're so famous. Like those are the first things that pop up on your feed.
And a lot of the time, it's very wrong. Unfortunately, we have a good chuckle. Because naturally they're able to do it because they're super flexy or they're super strong, right? So it can be very different. A big topic for another time.
Laura, can I just ask a question on the hands?
Yes, Lynn.
What do you do with the tips of your fingers? I know you press the knuckles down. But
not in downward dog. So in down dog, what have we said about the hand? So it depends on you. I say pointer finger pointing forwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's brought you to turn out just a little bit. It works for most people, maybe like 85%. You could also have middle finger pointing forwards, but that might think of turning your hands in. So I rather have pointer finger pointing forwards, okay? And then Lynn, for downward dog, we're pushing. So you're pushing away and not pushing into your fingertips. You'll feel the push through kind of this heel of your hand over here and your thumb, okay? And your fingers are just extending away and pushing.
Okay.
When we do plank and the other arm balances, you might push into your fingertips more. And when we do handstand, we do that a lot, but not in downward dog.
Not down dog. Okay.
Okay. Happy with that? Lots of information. You're just scraping the surface of down dog. We do it a lot, but it's actually quite a complex pose. There's a lot of elements to it. Okie dokie. So I just want to briefly talk about three-legged dog. So biggest thing you need to be aware of in three-legged dog, hips parallel. Where will the leg be?
Goes down.
Not as high. Okay, lifts about 30 degrees. Okay. If I allow the hips to open,
Leg goes up.
The leg goes up. That's the biggest thing to note. Okay. We want to keep the push into our hands in our three-legged dog, but you will notice your shoulders do open a bit. Okay. So if I'm in three-legged dog and I open the hips, can you see my shoulders open a little bit too? If I want to square my shoulders, it's going to bring my leg down. So both is fine. It's fine for your shoulders to rotate if you want your leg to be very high. If I want my shoulders straight, it's going to drop my hip a bit. Both are fine. It depends what you want from the pose. Do you want your leg to go up and everything to kind of open, or do you want everything to be squared off and straight? And it depends on the reason why you're doing the pose. If I'm doing it for Warrior 3, I want it to be straight and squared off, right? If I'm doing it because I want to do full splits and put my foot on my head, I'm going to allow for a little bit more movement, okay? And then lastly, moving over into our flipping the dog wild thing, can be very strong on the one arm. Like Lynn and I, we've chatted about it already. Because you've got your arm like this, with load, only on the one arm, and then you're rotating open and you're rotating back. It's very strong on your shoulder and arm. And if you're strong, no problem. If it's a weaker joint or if there's any shoulder niggles, not something we recommend you do for just anyone, okay? Because of the weight on the one arm, and then you're kind of twisting and moving around on it, right? Okay, so your options there, you can open up the hip and just stay like this. You're still getting that nice opening in the hip, a nice stretch. Your shoulders might rotate a little bit. As soon as you lift the one hand and go into one arm, you need to have built a little bit of like side plank strength on the one arm. If it's okay and your shoulders are strong, not a problem at all. And then we can push hips up and arch over. Okay, so a transition we need to be mindful of for students that maybe don't have the strongest shoulders yet. Okay, it would be good to first get them doing things like holding side plank, where you're not twisting around and back bending, and you're building that strength on one arm first. Would you agree? Okay, and once your shoulder is strong and you can do a side plank, no problem. And Lynn's going to leave that one now because she's got her elbow doesn't like it. And it is one of those poses you have to just be aware of. So give options. Stay here with the hip open, no need to flip it. If you feel strong on the one arm, then you can flip your down dog into a wild thing. It's a made up pose. I don't think there's a Sanskrit name for it, but you never know. There's always new Sanskrit names and new names of poses coming out all the time. It's more of a choreography kind of transition pose. And sometimes quite nice to do if you're teaching back bends. Okay. Any questions?
Yes, when you go over, I tend to rotate open and like open my arm as wide back as possible, but I see you look like you're stacking your shoulders over each other.
Both are fine, Jamie. Both is totally fine. So you can open that arm up, you're going to get more pec stretch, and I'm taking my arm more over, so I'm getting more like lat stretch. Both is totally fine.
Because I usually go straight into wheel from there, so I think
Flexi girl, yes, it is really fun. Both of those are fine, Jamie. Whatever feels good. It's like kind of like a purely indulgent pose.
Okay.
Wherever your body goes and feels nice is the main kind of focus. There's no real. You're building a little bit of strength in that arm, but you already need to be strong. So it is just a nice feeling of opening up and pressing the hips up and feeling a nice stretch in your chest wherever that arm goes. And for those crazy flexy ones like Jamie, she can flip all the way over into full wheel from there. So that's crazy, but fun because your body goes there. So it's cool. What do you think Jamie has a lot of flexibility in to be able to do that?
Shoulders.
Shoulders, yes. And I mean, her back's probably also pretty flexy, but having flexible shoulders. So Jamie, if you take your arm up into shoulder flexion, I'll spotlight her quickly. And then take your arm overhead. She probably has, her arm goes pretty far back. Yeah, there we are. So she has a more than average range of movement in her shoulders, which makes things like, oh, cute puppy, Chef's got a cone. Shoulder flexion and having that big range of movement in your shoulders makes things like back bends and full wheels and flipping downward dogs a lot easier. Okay. But if you have tight shoulders, so if you're not on that side of things, doing things like handstanding and arm balancing might be easier for you. So, you know, sometimes you can't have it all. Okie dokie. Can we move on? Any questions? I'm going to talk about plank next, if you're all right with that. I'm skipping forwards and doing it in my own order as always. Page 116, please. Okay, plank. We do it a lot, okay? And we want, it's kind of our fundamental strength building pose in yoga. What are we building strength in when we do plank?
Arms.
Arms, yes. Particularly which muscles?
Triceps.
Triceps.
Yeah.
And a little bit of something else.
Bicep. Pecs.
Okay. Okay. So, and you can feel your abdominal muscles are on a little bit there and your legs are on a bit as well. Okay. So it's building fundamental arm strength and shoulder stability. A lot of people that start yoga have really weak arms, okay? Because we don't stand on our hands very much in everyday life, right? In yoga, we're on our hands a lot, probably more so than any other form of movement. Think about Pilates, even martial arts. We're on our hands a lot in yoga, okay? So we need to build that fundamental strength for our shoulders and our arms, starting with plank, before we even go near chaturanga and all the other crazy stuff, okay? So a good thing to make your beginners hold plank. What are our shoulders doing in plank? We've heard high plank. Have you heard of high plank before? And then if you look in the picture, she's not doing high plank. So what are our options when it comes to plank?
On your knee.
On your
We can do it on our knees, yes, Belinda. But what are we doing particularly with our shoulders?
Protracting.
Because in yes.
This is the thing. You can do high plank in which you push into your hand and then you do protract your shoulder blades. They move apart. Okay? What is this working more of? Feel it. Let's go. Step into plank. And then do a high plank. So that means you're pushing into your hands, you're rounding your shoulders, you're tucking your bum, and you're rounding your back. Yes. But bum down a little bit, so you're still in plank, not quite down dog. Yes, you're just doing like a really round plank. What is it working more? Your core. It's working your abdominals more. Why?
Taking the load off your shoulders.
A little bit, yes, Candy, yeah. In what shapes do our core muscles kick in?
Curling.
Think about when you do ab crunches.
Curling.
What works your core?
Rounding your back.
Rounding your back, absolutely. So when you round your back, it switches on your core more, okay? That's the biggest thing. So when would we do something like high plank? When would it be beneficial? For what kind of peak pose? Do we want core and round? Belinda?
Pro.
Pro, absolutely. Okay. Because in crow, we want to round the shoulder blades, okay? We run around the spine, and we want our core, our tummy muscles to work. So then it's totally relevant. But the rest of the time, what if I'm teaching back bends? So the rest of the time, we do like a neutral plank position, okay? Where we're not rounding our back and we're not rounding our shoulder blades. We actually want our shoulder blades to just be normal. So the best way to find a normal shoulder blades plank, it's badly said, you know what I mean, is coming from all fours, which we did a lot in our classes. So if I come from hands and knees, can you see I'm not arching, I'm not rounding, I'm just normal, right? My shoulder blades are a little bit down, shoulders are stacked over us. I step 1 foot back, look how my shoulders are not going to move. And this is how we can find the most kind of aligned straight plank, especially well for yourself when you're practicing at home, but also for your beginners. So also look at the pelvis. If I come from here, my hips don't need to move. They're already in the correct place. My bum isn't up too high. My bum isn't hanging down, which is what we also see. But if I come from all fours, my pelvis and my shoulders are in the correct place. Okay, do you want to give that a go? It's very helpful to find a nice straight plank. So come from hands under shoulders, knees under hips on all fours. Spread your fingers, still pointer fingers pointing forwards. Spread your fingers, straight arms, shoulder blades a little bit down, neck in line with spine. Step 1 foot back and just tuck the toe. Now don't move anything else. Step the other foot back, feet hip distance. Boom, you're in it. Perfect plank without having to give any instruction really. Helpful. Don't let your head hang. Okay, look slightly head Celine, yes. Your thighs, your quads, push them a little bit away from the floor so your legs feel active. Strong straight arms, neck in line with spine, natural hips, natural shoulders, you're in plank. And release. How does that feel? Quite strong on your shoulders, right? Len?
No, it's fine. Yeah, simple, because then you don't have to be moving your hips up and down.
Yeah, because sometimes it's hard when we're stepping back from forward fold. We have to kind of find our plank. So it's quite nice to teach plank like this the first few times, just to kind of feel where everything should be. Why do we want to teach with our shoulders neutral in plank? What comes next in a sun salutation?
Chaturanga.
Exactly. And what do our shoulder blades do when we learn to chaturanga? Feel it. Our shoulder blades?
Come together.
They come together. So if I start in high plank and then I want to learn to chaturanga, I'm almost doing 2 opposite things with my shoulder blades, right? Now I'm in high plank, but now I have to go into chaturanga. Ugh. So it's easier to build strength for chaturanga by having a normal plank, neutral shoulders. Okay, it's going to build more strength in that pushing away corp round high plank. Okay, so both are beneficial for different things. Most of the time we'll be just doing a normal plank. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. And we've done it a lot, so I'm sure that's all fitting into place nicely now. So plank into downward dog are your go-to beginner strengthening poses for yoga. Okie dokie. Let's do chaturanga while we're at it. So let's come into page 120, 120. We've already touched on it, so we'll just, and you're all looking pretty good in your chaturangas. I'm quite impressed. We want you to be able to demonstrate a kneeling chaturanga. Because you'll be teaching beginners and teaching them chaturanga for the first time, we're going to do the kneeling chaturanga for a little bit of support before doing full chaturanga. Okay. What is our mantra in chaturanga?
Look forward.
And
Look forward.
yes. Look forwards, move forwards. Okay. So you've seen it before. One more time. So I can come from all fours, find my neutral plank, bring my knees to the floor, look forwards, lean a little forwards. As I lower, I'm squeezing my elbows to my ribs, and I think I'm moving forwards, forwards, forwards. From here, my collarbones are opening, my shoulder blades are coming together as I lower it as one. What we don't want is the knees, chest thing, knees, chest, chin. Sis, it's a terrible, terrible instruction because it builds no strength. This is not a pose, okay? It's my pet peeve. We also don't want to have our shoulders collapsing forwards like this. Can you see that? Okay? We need to feel that, like you can even feel sitting as you bend your elbows, collarbones opening, shoulder blades coming together. Okay, let's do one kneeling and then we'll do one full. So from plank, you can come from all fours. Look at your hands, spread your fingers. Step back from all fours, find your neutral plank. Lower your knees to the mat, kneeling plank. Look forwards, lean a little forwards. Your shoulders, hips, and knees on all one straight line. Start to slowly bend your elbows. The slower you do it, the more strength you're building. 10-second lowers is what we're looking for. Squeeze your elbows in, look forwards, shoulders roll open, shoulders roll open. Don't let them collapse forwards, shoulders open, more forwards, more forwards, more forwards. Thank you. And down, little cobra curl, baby cobra. Baby cobra, neck is long, don't scrunch your neck. Slowly release. Then almost do like a reverse kneeling chaturanga. Push up onto hands and knees. So again, we're building tricep strength. Tuck toes, downward facing dog. Okay, so that's what you'll be doing in your assessment to be able to demonstrate that version of the sun salutation, to build the strength. Got it? Okay, just for fun and no pressure to do this because you might still feel like you're building strength in that kneeling chaturanga. For full chaturanga, we come straight down from plank. My mantra is still to move forwards, okay? So again, from all fours, stepping back, look forwards. From here, go from toes tucked to being more onto the tops of the toes. I look forwards, I squeeze my elbows in and I move forwards to hover off the floor. Can you see I'm quite high up? Chaturanga is not about being low to the ground like this, okay? You are your forearms distance away from the floor. Have a look, that's quite a bit. Yeah? You don't want to be like this in full chaturanga. You need to stop when your elbows are next to your ribs so that when you come down, you're here. Can you see it's quite upright? Then you sweep forwards, up dog. I've got even more forwards. That is why my feet are flipped. Then I pull up through a little plank, down dog. Okay, so can you see from that initial plank to chaturanga to upward dog, you move a full foot's distance. That's why your feet flip. You don't just tuck your feet because you're supposed to go forwards. It's really, really difficult. You can give it a go. No pressure. It's hard. Okay. So from plank, if your arms are tight, give it a break. It's tough. This is hard, okay? Rest if you need to, please. Plank, look forwards. Lean forwards over your wrists, and now you've gone into the tops of your toes. Yes. Now start to squeeze your elbows in. Go slowly, go slowly. Stop quite high up. When your elbows touch your ribs, you stop. You stop and you hover off the floor. Now sweep forwards. Your pelvis almost needs to sweep in between your arms. Up dog, so now your feet have gone flat. And back into downward dog. Pull up through plank to feel some strength into down dog. It's quite hard, hey? Because you've gone so far forwards. It's really tough. It's not something you teach in the first class. Plank into downward dog first, right? Any questions on that? So that's future goals. Now you understand how far forwards you have to go. And that chaturanga is quite high up, right? You stop where your elbows are in line with your ribs. So you're a whole forearms distance away from the floor. Collarbones are open, always. Yes. Okay.
Laura, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Feet. When do you flatten your feet before you start moving down?
So Michelle, it's kind of like a natural process. So from plank, I go towards the toe side of the foot. Then I go into chaturanga. And then as I go into upward dog, naturally you sweep more forwards and then you go over your toes. So it should.
Could you show me? Could you
yes,
show
of
me,
course.
please?
Am I still spotlighted? Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So from here, I just tuck my toes. So I'm on the balls of my feet, right? Then as I prepare for chaturanga, I move forward. I'm on my toes. I'm off the balls of my feet. I go into chaturanga, I hover. I don't even think about my feet. I just sweep forwards for upward dog. And then I sweep back.
Thank you.
So it's balls, toes, feet flat, down dog.
Got it.
So I always laugh when I go to yoga classes and they go. Because you're missing the whole idea of why your feet flip. Your feet flip because you've gone so far forwards, you have to flip your toes for upward dog. That's the idea. And not because you're just flipping your toes because it's supposed to look like that. It's because you've gone so far forwards, you had to. Does that make sense, Michelle? Did you feel that? Yeah. And that's what makes it so hard. Okay. All right, so your arms are probably feeling quite worked at this point, so please pace yourself. Okay, take a little breather. If you don't have the correct strength in these poses and your shoulders are rolling forwards in chaturanga, it can make your shoulders very sore. Okay, so this is why we learn kneeling chaturanga, bringing those shoulder blades together, keeping the chest open so that we don't collapse. We never want this. Okay. You guys all still okay? Talk to me. How are you feeling?
Hi.
Okay. This is a mean Sunday session. You all okay? Can I continue?
Yes.
Yay. Some of you will love arm balances. Some of you will hate arm balances. That's normal. I'm going to talk about side plank next. Okay. So you go to page 118 for side plank. This is a really fun pose. And you'll see on page 119, there's a cool little intelligent sequence of how to get into side plank with your foot up in the air. It's one of my favorite classes to teach. And when you come back and do your 300-hour course, I'll teach you all those very big, mean arm balances. But you need to prepare for them because they're really big poses. Vashisthasana is side plank. Okay. It's also a really nice way once you've got a little bit of strength to build more strength because now you're on one arm. Okay. So it creates great shoulder stability. And we're going to come into it from downward facing dog, which is very different than coming into it from plank. So normally we think we should come into it from plank because it's side plank. But we're actually going to come into it from downward dog for a very particular reason, okay? So maybe I'll show you, that'll be easier to make sense. I just don't talk as much. So Roxy is saying I'm breaking up quite badly. Is she the only one that can't hear properly? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, me too.
So guys, what we can do, if it's bad, you can just turn your video off. Roxy, is your video on? She's taking a video off, yeah. And Celine as well, if I'm breaking up badly, turn your video off. It may help you a little bit, okay? If it's very bad and it's affecting everyone, we'll all turn our videos off except for me, which will be very boring. Roxy saying it's still breaking up badly. So guys, can we all turn our videos off for a bit and see if that helps? And then at least turn your turn your sound on so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Nice to see your faces. Okay, Roxy, tell me, is that better? No, well, it's quite normal, Roxy, because there's quite a lot of us on. So I'll demonstrate the pose like this. And then we'll just see if that is better. Okay, all righty. So we're going back to side plank. Cool. So I'm going to come into it from downward dog. So when I come from downward facing dog, what angle of my arm is happening here? As opposed to if I'm in plank, my arm is straight from the floor. And from downward dog, it's at a bit more of an angle, right? Okay, yeah. And I'm going to use that angle to push through my hand so that when I'm moving to side plank, I'll just stack feet, I'm almost in like a little bit of a round shape, right? And because I'm pushing, it's going to make it easier for my wrist. First of all, this is very strong on your shoulder and wrist. But when you lift your hips and have more of a downward dog angle, I get more work in my oblique, my waist, and my lats. Okay, so first of all, we're going to enter side plank from downward dog. I'm going to do it on the other side so I don't get tired and useless. So from my downward dog, I shift my weight over. I don't need to adjust my feet because as I do, I've turned onto the outer edge of my bottom foot, and that's brought my hand and my foot into one straight line. I stack my feet, if you can, lift the hips, and push the mat away with my bottom hand. So I can feel strong work from the shoulder, the waist, and even a little bit in my hip. Can you see I'm a bit more rounded? The reason why I'm going to teach it to you that way with the hips up is because there's a lot of versions of this pose. You take your leg up, like you can see in the next picture. You can do it as a back bend. You can do it in tons of different ways. By having your hips up makes the next few variations possible. Okay, so let's try it like that, and then we will see about playing with the next move. You can turn your videos on now so I can see some of you at least. So come from downward dog. Okay, down dog. Shift your weight onto your right hand. Turn onto the outer edge of your right foot. Turn to the side, move into side plank. Now lift your hips up, hips up, hips up. Yes, Tina, I can see that, awesome. Hips up. Can you feel now how you're working the bottom side of your waist? Lean forwards as if you're going to bring your shoulder over your wrist. Just feel the difference as if you're going to plank. Can you feel quite strong on the shoulder and wrist? But when you push, your hips come up and you get more bottom waist work. Okay, one more thing there. As you're in side plank, you can change sides as you need to if you want. We'll stay here. Pull your armpit down of the right arm. So right shoulder, pull your shoulder blade down, your armpit down. It locks you into place. Feel that on the other side as you transition through down dog. Turn to the left side. Push your hand away from you. So your hand is forwards of your shoulder. It's not like plank, it's like down dog. Lift your hips up high and pull your armpit down. Yes, Michelle, lift those hips. Gary, lift your hips higher. Lift your hips, lift your hips. Yes, you're almost like doing a bit of a side bend. Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Pull your armpit down. Try and stack your feet. And then release back down dog. Cool. How did that feel?
Yes,
Strong. Interesting. Different from usual.
Yeah.
Different, right? So the reason why your hand is forward like this, it makes it a little bit more of that push strength, okay? You get more of that strength from the underside of the body. Could you feel the difference with that? Where the other one is more kind of working on bones and joint stability, that push is useful now. You don't have to do the next one, but if you want, you can. If you want to put your foot up in the air and hold your big toe, it really, 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 really helps to have your hips up, okay? Because through them you put your foot in lotus, it's easier to grab and bind your foot in lotus. It's easier to do the back bends. It's easier for all the next versions if you lift your hips, okay? Okie dokie. So if you can just turn your videos off again, I'll give you one more demo, just so Roxy can stream us, and hopefully things are a little bit better. So we're just going with the internet today. Okay. So there's quite a few really fun ways of doing this pose. It is quite advanced, so you really, if your arms are like exhausted, don't do this. You don't have to do it. It's not in your assessment. Just side plank is. So if I'm moving into side plank, I'm lifting my hips up nice and high. I should feel like my bottom foot, so it's a bit weird for the ankle, but my big toe is pushing down. It's very strange. To create stability, I find my big toe and I open it up. By lifting my hips here, makes it possible. If I drop my hips, it's horrible. Okay, another way, fun way for those crazy flexy ones that I know are going to love this, you can come from a lunge, find your big toe, and then you can just open up into it from a lunge, and then bring it back into a lunge, which is quite an awesome transition. Like for the crazy ones that are feeling silly, go for it. Turn your video on so I can see. Otherwise, let's just watch them for the rest of us. If you want to give it a go, come from plank, bind your big toe, put it up, and then also try it from a lunge, which is quite fun. Okay, so turn into side plank, lift your hips is going to make this a whole much better. Yes, Wilma. That's it. Now lift your hips, Wilma. Push through your bottom hand and lift the hips, lift the hips. It makes your foot go higher. Yes, Natalie. Nice, Micah. Awesome. Gary, lift those hips. It's going to make it easier. Hips up, and then see if you can bring your foot forwards into a lunge. Yes, that's way better. And then take it back up into the air from lunge. Crazy. Crazy stuff. Yes, Cinchina, lift your hips. Combining strength and flexibility, right? Yes, Jamie, with the strap, off you go. Lift those hips, push through the bottom. You had a nice assistance there. Go for it, Jamie. Nice, Celine. Yeah, now lift your hips. It makes your foot go higher. Push off the bottom hand. Yes, and then bring it into the lunge. It's really fun from a lunge. Yes, Candy. Woo! Wow, she's really flexible. Okay, so just for a little fun, you can do it on the other side so that you feel even. Now you've exhausted yourself. Good luck for the rest of the day. Fun. Okay, take a little break. Unless you're doing the other side, go for it. Go for Linda, yay. Wow, since she did like full splits there, that was incredible. Whoa. Yes, Belinda, keep those hips up. Yes, beautiful. Lean head back, open chest. Yes. So all those instructions we hear in triangle about opening up, leaning the shoulders back, right, is now useful when you do crazy stuff like this. So that when you take that leg back, you're opening up just as in triangle pose, right? Okay, well done, guys. Take a little breather. Whew. Okay. There's loads of arm balances. I'm just focusing on the ones that are in your assessment today, okay? 124. Next page. 124. crow and side crow, and then fancy side crow with splitty legs. These will be the last arm balances I'll work today, just so that your arms don't completely exhaust. Okay. So for crow, we've done it in our arm balance sequence, right? For those that are wearing long sleeves, be careful because your leg slides, okay? So it's nice to have skin to grip on. It's very helpful. When it comes to these arm balances, so all of the ones we've done before are preparation strength building arm balances, okay? Now when we move into these, they are all levers, okay? So in order to do crow pose, it's like a seesaw. If these are your legs and these are your arms, you need to lean more onto your arms for your legs to lift. All arm balances with fancy legs are all levers, okay? If you lean and you have the strength to lean enough, your legs will lift, okay? Which also brings it scary because you're leaning your face closer and closer to the floor. So I recommend if you haven't done a lot of arm balances, you're not super comfortable, I would take a pillow right now, grab a pillow, have it handy. Even if you're like not sure, have a pillow. It's an awesome thing to help you to go further forwards. Because if your face finds the floor, at least it goes into your pillow. It encourages you to lean more, okay? I will show you and then you will try it. Roxy, are you managing with the internet? Do we want to turn our videos off again?
It seems to be better for now.
Okay, cool. You just tell us if it gets bad, just type it in the chat again, okay? Okay, so I'm going to show you first with the block, okay? So your two assists here are a pillow out in front of you. I don't have a pillow in my studio right now. I'm not going to go fetch one. And then can you see how I've got my feet on the block? Okay. So I've put my feet onto the block to lift my lever of the legs up already. Okay, that's what it's doing. Which pose do we always enter crow from?
Malasana.
Malasana, you got it. Malasana, feet together. So I look like this. Feet are together, Malasana legs. I come down and I've brought my shoulders between my knees. Okay. Now, have a look. I'm going to walk my hands forwards to get really round and compact. And then I'm going to slide my hands back so that they wedge. Okay. Until my hands can't go back no more. Then I lift my toes and I lift my chest. I look forwards. You look down, you will go down. You need to look forwards. Okay, like turn around there. Look forward, lean forwards. And then just look 1 foot off the block. See how it feels. Maybe both feet off the block. Okay. So let's start with that. If you're comfortable in this pose, maybe you don't use the block. Let's come into Malasana with feet together. Okay. Walk your hands forwards out in front of you. Walk your hands forwards. Your pillow is quite close towards you. Maybe you got your feet on the block. Now slide your hands back and bend your elbows out to the sides. So what you've created now is a shelf for your knees to rest on with your upper arms. Okay, you'll feel your hands go back no more. Now lift up onto your toes. Lift your chest. Look forwards. Look forwards. Look forwards. Start to lean your weight into your hands very slowly. Look forwards. Lean forwards. More weight is in your hands, and then see about lifting 1 foot. Maybe 2 feet. If 2 feet lift, bring your big toes to touch and draw your heels up into your butt. So it looks impressive, basically. That's okay, Lone. Take it easy.
My sister
Don't look down. Look forward. You are going to have a few little falls. That's part of the fun, right? Give it a little break. And then try again if you want to. Otherwise, there's no pressure. You've got lots of time to get this. If your pillow's in front, it's guiding you to lean more forward. Yes, nice, Renee. You got it. Yes, Gary, I've seen you can do this one like a boss. Very nice. That's it, Wendy. So Gary, you can work to start straightening your arms now. Why not? If you're doing it the straight arm version, Gary, you might want to rest your knee more on the inside of your arm. Less on the outside, more kind of pointers on your upper arms. It's more advanced. The boys are just irritating when it comes to balances. Ignore him. Look forward. Push the mat away. Start to straighten arms. Push the mat. Push the mat. Push the mat. Yes, Cincy, good. Slowly lean forward. Yay! Nice. That's it, Nicole. Okay. And then give yourselves a little break. You're going to have lots of time to practice this. Let's not overdo it, yes? Okay. Because we have to slowly build, progressively loading, strengthen our wrists, strengthen our arms. Okay. Whew. Take a little breather because I still got one more for you. How did that feel? Can you feel how the setup from crow, from Malasana and getting your knees onto the outside of your arms is very helpful? Okay. Looking forwards and leaning forwards is your mantra for all arm balances. Okay. And those that had the pillow, look at you got into the pose. So hopefully that was helpful. And the block perches you up to start you in a little bit of a lever already. Okay. So keep practicing those. That is in your assessment. Give your arms a little break. Okay. While I demonstrate your side crow for you. Okay. Because there's a couple ways of doing side crow. So when it comes to side crow, first of all, you can do it with your 2 elbows underneath your thigh, okay? So I've got 2 elbows to create a shelf onto, and then I look forward, lean forwards to lift the feet. It is more of a twist because I'm having to really bring my arms all the way around, hook one elbow, hook the other elbow, chaturanga arms, look forwards, lean forwards. It feels the safest if it's the first time you're doing this pose because you've got 2 elbows to rest on. It is a bigger twist, however, so it might be harder if twisting is a restriction. Okay, that's one way. I'm going to show you the other way so you can play with both. The next way I'm in Malasana, I'm only going to hook one arm on the outside of my leg. It's less of a twist. I much prefer this one once I learned it. I put my hand down and then I have one free arm and I place it far out so my hands are still about shoulder distance apart. I'm not going to rest my thigh on my free arm. So it looks like my toes are pointing forwards and my hands are pointing forwards as opposed to the other one when I was turned to the side. Does that make sense? Mm. So first one, my toes point forwards, my hands turn to the side. This one, my feet point forwards and my hands point forwards. I know that's going to be confusing. Just try it a few times, okay? Now from here, I'm going to lean my weight into my free hand, okay? And I'm thinking of bringing my nose and my drishti forwards, okay? To here. And then I look forwards and lean forwards. And then your free arm, squeeze that elbow in like chaturanga. Okay. Let's give it a bash. Try those 2 versions. You'll prefer one or the other and then see how it goes. So let's squat down. Bring your hands first, point your knees forward and take your hands to the side. I'll come into it with you because I know it can be a little bit confusing. Okay. Toes are pointing forwards, take your hands to your side. If you're going to the right, hook your left elbow on your right outer thigh and bring your right elbow into your right thigh. Then place your hands shoulder distance apart, Look forwards, lean on your hands, your thighs resting on both your elbows, and then you need to kind of shuffle your feet away from you a bit. Look forwards, and then just flick your feet up. Just give it a go. If you have to, encourage your feet to lift. Yes. Don't overdo it. If your shoulders are tight, just make the shape. Then try it on the other side. Feet are pointing forwards, Malasana. I'm taking my right elbow over to my left thigh to hook my elbow. Place the hand, and my left elbow snuggles in towards the hip as I lean my hip onto my elbows. Look forwards. Then you need to shuffle your feet out a little bit. Okay? More weight into the hands. Nose comes closer to the floor. And then you'll have to, when you feel like you've got some stability, give your feet a little lift. They won't lift on their own without making them. Okay, then take a little break if you need to. And then I'll cue you through the next one. Any questions yet?
Laura, you make it look very easy.
It becomes an addiction. And you won't be able to stop doing it until you do it. Okay, but you might find this other way, which seems harder, but for me, I actually found it easier because it's less like, I feel less stuck and compressed. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through the one-arm version now. Are you ready? So I'm going to squat down Balasana. Knees stay together now. I take my left elbow on the outside of my right thigh. Okay, so I'm going to place my legs on my leg arm. Spend a little time getting a good snuggle here so that your thigh is quite high up your left arm. Higher the better. Now right hand, step it out to the side. Your hands about shoulder distance. Your nose needs to go forwards past your hands. If your hands are the bottom corners of the triangle, your nose needs to look forwards to the top edge of the triangle. Lean your weight into your free arm. Look forwards, move forwards in front of your hands.
That's right.
And then gently bring it back and try it the other side. Okay. As we go over to the other side, Malasana, you hook your other arm on the outside. Place hand wide. That's it. Yes, that's it, Gary. It looks perfect. Chaturanga arms, look forwards. Bend your arms. That's it, Wilma. Nose forwards, nose forward. Stick your head out like a tortoise. I know, it doesn't sound attractive, but it's helpful. Yes, look forwards, lean forwards. Nice, Dizzy, you got it. You got it. So it might start with just like a flicker of your feet lifting, but you know that you're there. You're almost there.
Can't get there.
That's it, Micah. Okay. That's it, Roxy. Look forwards, lean forwards. Yes, nice, Roxy. Okay, then I'm going to show you the fancy legs. I'll show you the fancy legs.
Laura,
Okay.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this.
Well, don't stress, Lynn. All I expect for you is to make the shape. So if you're going to hook your arms and put your hand on the floor and attempt leaning forwards, that's perfect.
Okay.
But you never know what might happen.
Well, you never know.
You never
That's
know.
true.
Make the shapes, work the actions. That's still doing the pose. If you have weights on your hands in a twist, that's crow pose, right? Okay. All right. So if you're doing fancy legs, the pose, you can call it Ekapada Kundinyasana 1. Okay. This is side crow. We're splitting your legs out. It's called Ekapada Kundinyasana 1. Okay. So what you've got to remember is which leg to extend is the biggest thing. So your bottom leg shoots off to the side, okay? And then I need to lean more forwards to extend my top leg back. Can you see how much more I had to lean when my leg goes back? My nose gets really close to the floor. Okay. So once you've got your side crow, remember it's your bottom leg that shoots off to the side. Maybe Mika's going to do it for us here. No pressure. Just play. I won't spotlight you. Just play. Your bottom leg shoots to the side. And then once you've got your balance, you have to lean your nose more forwards to extend your back leg away. Because you've increased the lever, right? Go for it, Roxy. Because you're right there. So Roxy's going to come into it. She's going to extend her bottom leg to the side. Bottom leg to the side. And then lean more forwards now, Roxy, as your top leg goes back. Lean your nose. Yes, because otherwise the top leg pulls you back. Because it's the lever, right? Thanks, Roxy. So you just have to play with those levers in those poses. Anyone else want to give it a go? That's it, Jamie. Bottom leg to the side. Now lean more. You have to lean more. Yes. If you don't lean more forwards, it pulls you back because it's a seesaw. Whenever the leg goes behind you, your nose gets very close to the floor. Other way, Gary, bottom leg has to shoot off to the side. So bottom leg is going to go to the side. Yes, there you are. Now lean more as you extend your top leg. Yes, so close. Go for it. Bottom leg to the side. Then look forwards. Don't look to the side, Gary. Look forwards. Yes. Now lean more as that back leg goes away. Yes. Excellent. Well done. Okay, but you don't need to worry about any of that yet. You will do crow and side crow. Yes, Wilma. Lift that back leg. Yes. Well done. Once you've got your side crow, all you have to do is lean more. So it's not necessarily all that much harder. You just got to lean more, which is, yes, a bit harder. Okay, guys, those are all our arm balances we're doing. I want to finish up some twists after this, but let's take a break. Chloe, do you have a question? No. Oh, sorry. I saw your hand. Can we meet back in 10 minutes? Short. 10 minutes at 1:15 for some twists to end off our day. See you then. Hello, welcome back. Okie dokie, so we'll just go through a couple twists, nothing too intense for the rest of our session together. On page 92, we'll start with our seated twists. You've only got 3 in your assessment, so I'm going to focus mostly on those. Roxy?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to ask something. So when we did that, I found my right-hand side, there was quite a bit of pressure on my ribs. Should you ever feel that? Like, I'm assuming it is because of my scoliosis. I've obviously got such an imbalance. But is that normal to feel the pressure? Because if it's not, I would assume then it's just because of my alignments out.
Yes, you will feel a bit of pressure on your side, like your side oblique and your ribs, absolutely. And I would think that you're feeling more pressure on the one side because of your scoliosis, maybe more so than the rest of us. So this is where something to be a little bit more mindful of your scoliosis. And I did mention you to Claire, so you are on her radar to chat about your back.
I've actually just messaged her as well. So.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so she can just also advise you. She's our specialist and she'll give you the best advice.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Okie dokie, so first of all, we're just going to do a easy twist with our legs crossed in Sukhasana, okay? So this is one of the twists that's in your assessment. Okay, it's not actually in the manual, but I'm just going to do it as a little warm-up. So like we did yesterday, we started with our legs crossed. And we brought our shins a little bit more forwards and crossed our legs at mid-shin so that our knees were a little bit more level. We also saw that if we can't sit up straight and we're rounding into the lower back, it's better to sit on a little bit of height, a cushion or a block or a bolster. So the same would apply for twists. We want to start with the spine nice and upright, nice and straight, so that when we twist, we're not twisting with a rounded back. And we also don't want to be twisting with a very arched back. Okay. So we need to make sure that we're in a comfortable seat. Secondly, you'll feel it when we do it all together in a bit. If you turn your head first and then twist, you might feel that you can't get as big a twist. It might not be as effective. So what's quite nice is to actually think of turning first through your abdominals and your obliques, your side tummy muscles are working. Then you return your ribs, then you turn your shoulders, and lastly turn your head. Okay, so that's going to be an interesting sensation to experience. So when you're ready, come to sitting on your mat with your legs crossed in Sukhasana, easy pose, cross-legged sit. Make sure you can sit upright. If you struggle to sit upright in this pose, you can sit on a support. Let's take our right hand over towards the left knee. And the same with your backhand. You don't want to sit into your backhand and slouch. Push off your back fingertips to almost encourage more length in your spine and to sit up more upright. Now, don't turn your head. I know it's tempting. First, turn through your abdominal muscles. So feel your waist and your obliques working. Inhale, sit up a little bit taller. And now twist more through your shoulders and your ribs. Don't turn your head yet. Sit a little taller. You might want to take your backhand further behind you to deepen the twist. And then very lastly, turn your head to gaze over your back shoulder. Keep pushing off your back fingertips to sit tall. And a good check for yourself, and this might not work for everyone, but if you look down over your left shoulder, left rib, left hip, it should be a fairly straight line when you look down. You haven't leaned back, you haven't leaned forwards, your chest is stacked over your hip. Sometimes a nice indicator if it works for you. Let's release and unwind back to center. is feel that on the other side. So taking left hand over to right knee, we'll twist to the right. Sit up nice and tall. Use that back hand to straighten and lengthen through the spine. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist first through the lower back, so turn through the tummy. Inhale, sit taller. Of course, your left knee may have come forwards now because your hips move with your spine, remember? So don't worry about keeping your hips fixed. Move your hips. Turn through your ribs and shoulders. Inhale, sit a little straighter. Go on twisting through the shoulders, and then lastly turning your gaze to look back. Maybe you're taking your backhand further back around. Make sure you're not leaning forwards, you're not leaning back, you're sitting upright. Take a breath and exhale to unwind and release. Good, how did that feel? Can you feel the difference? So now while you're here, just turn your head first and then turn. You might feel it restricts you. Whereas before you turn from the lower back, middle back, upper back, then turn the head. Can you feel how it gets you into a bigger twist?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Any other questions? So that cross-legged twist is in your assessment, even though it's not in your book. We do it all the time in the classes. So with twist, the main things we want to note is lengthening through the spine, not leaning back or leaning forwards, being upright, so you almost spiral on a nice straight spine, nice straight axis. Turning through the abdominals, then the ribs, then the shoulders is also helpful, rather than turning the head first. Okay. Twists are really nice to warm the spine as a warm-up, but also as a cool down to release the muscles in the back. Especially after doing things like back bends this morning, we use twists to help relax our back muscles and unwind. If anyone has any spinal issues, twists are not good. If you're working with any lower back issues, disc issues, twists are normally not advised. But we would always consult with the physio, doctor, bio, whoever first. Belinda.
Christian, I see you used a cupcake hand, yet she's got a flat hand.
Yeah. So what do you think the difference is, Belinda? What will work better for some?
Well, I suppose it depends on the length of your arms, maybe.
You're right. So she has a very nice long arm. So I think for her, it doesn't make too much difference. For me, I don't have very long arms, so I love my cupcake hands because they help me to lift more. So for most people, a cupcake hand works quite well. But if you have very long arms, a flat hand will do no harm.
I find a flat hand helps me to keep my shoulder down.
Perfect, Lynn. Good.
Is that all right?
Totally fine. Because we've got to do what works for our bodies here. So with our shoulders in twists, we have to remember to try and bring the shoulder blades a little bit together and down, just as in all our other poses. Okay. So if there are any other questions, I'm going to move into our next twist, which is Ardha Matsyendrasana. It's Ardha means half, and Matsindra is like king of the fishes, so it's half fish pose. All right. We'll call it one-legged crossed over twist for you in your assessment, just so that you're not confused. The half is referring to the bottom leg being bent, and then the top leg crossing over. All right, it's a really nice twist.
Page 93 is this?
Page 92.
We're still on 92.
We're still on 92. Sorry, the other one is Ardha Matsyendrasana number 2, and that has a lotus version. So we're not doing that one. We'll do the one on page 92. And the last one we did with legs crossed isn't in your manual, but it's a nice warm-up to just start off with twists and is in your assessment. Okay, so that's maybe the confusion came in. Okay, so Ardha Matsyendrasana, half fish twist, one leg crossed over twist. Again, we want to make sure that our pelvis is nice and straight, so sitting on the block is also can be very helpful for this pose. So I would start in Dandasana, crossing one leg over. So I've crossed my right leg over to the left side. And then I'm going to rock off onto my left sit bone to help me bend the left leg under. All right, you don't have to do it all so elaborately, but it is helpful to get into that position. Okay. So when I've got my legs like this, my right solar foot is pushed onto the floor, so it's a little bit active. Right knees come up towards me, and my left leg is just, my foot is just resting out to the side. It's not under your bum, because then your pelvis would be skew, right? So your heel is out to the side so that you can sit even weight onto both bum cheeks. When it comes to twist, what's the golden rule in which way we turn?
Towards the front.
Always towards the front leg. So in this case, my top leg is the front leg. So I'm going to turn towards the right. You've got two arm options here, okay? And it depends on your body which one you'll prefer. Option one is to wrap your elbow around your knee and then to sit up nice and tall. Yes? Okay. And your second option is to hook your elbow onto the outside of your knee and then to turn. And then your fingertips will be pointing straight up to the ceiling with your fingers together, so no jazz hands. Fingers together, sitting tall and twisting. So let's come into this pose and then we'll do it all together. So from Dandasana, we sit. We cross the right leg over so that the sole of foot is on the outer left thigh. Then you can lean off onto your left sit bone to take weight off to bend your left knee. Okay. If you were unable to sit comfortably here, sitting on a block would make that a lot more comfortable. Okay. Take your right hand a little bit behind you and reach up through your left arm. Create length in the spine. From here, try both versions. Wrap your left elbow around your shin of the right and sit up tall. Okay, so this is quite a nice one for the shoulders because you'll really be able to drop your left shoulder down. Other option, reach your left arm up again, create length, and then hook your left elbow onto the outside of your right thigh. More and a little bit more intense and a little bit harder to bring the shoulders down. You decide which you prefer, both are fine. Sit up tall. Now let's turn first through the abdominals, sit a little taller. Turn through your ribs, shoulders, lastly turn your gaze to look back. Don't lean on your backhand, push off your backhand to sit up nice and tall, lastly turning your gaze to look back. Take one more breath, and exhale, gently release and unwind. Changing across the legs. You can also float your legs up like a little bow pose and then switch legs. Yeah, whatever you prefer. Okay, so now our left leg is on top. So which way do we twist?
Towards the right. To the left.
To the left. Always towards the top or front leg. Okay, right arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Now you decide which arm version did you prefer. The wrapping around the shin or the hooking on the outer thigh. Sit up nice and tall, take a breath in. On your exhale, spiral from the base of the spine, moving through tummy, ribs, shoulders, lastly turning your gaze to look back. Go on, sitting up nice and tall. Shoulders down away from ears. Keep the chest lifted. Take one more breath. That looks great, everyone. And then slowly release and come back to center. Okay, how did that feel? Any questions? Nice pose, hey? So, with this pose, what would it be a really good prep for? What are we doing? We're twisting. We're hooking the elbow. Micah, what would it be a good prep for?
Side crow?
Yes! It's a brilliant prep pose for side crow because we're teaching the twist, we're teaching the hook, and we're getting that feeling of hooking our arm on our outer thigh, which would be a perfect prep for side crow. What other preps would it also be good for? What other poses do we twist and hook in?
Twisted high lunge?
Yes, twisted high lunge, absolutely.
Twisted chair, obviously.
Twisted chair, 100%. So you'll see a lot of the poses have similar themes, similar shapes, similar actions, similar joint movements. And we would link all those poses together. That's what you'll be required to do in order to put together a sequence later on. It's really fun.
Laura?
Yes, Lynn?
Is it the same principle with the cupcake versus the flat hand on this one as well?
Absolutely, Lynn.
Yeah.
Totally. So if you feel a flat hand feels better for you, you flat hand. As long as you're not slouching back, all good. You obviously have longer arms than me. Which is a very big advantage in yoga, let me tell you. Long arms are easier to bind and wrap around yourself, and also sit on the floor and be able to lift your bum in the air. Very big advantage. Celine?
How do you know if you have long arms or not? I remember from the yoga and Natalie videos, but it was a bit difficult to find out.
So if you sit on your bum, Celine, and put your hands just next to you now, shuffle back a bit so we can see you. Let's just, I think she has quite long arms just from what I can see. Okay, so put your hands next to your side, Celine. So I'm measuring your arms in relation to your wow. Okay, so look at Celine. Can you see when her hand's in line with her hip? Her elbow is bent, right? Then have a look at me. My hands are barely touching the floor. I have to like push down. Where Celine has her elbows bent. So Celine, try and put your hands on the floor and lift your bum up in the air. I'll spotlight her quickly. You got to round your back a little bit. Try and lift, use your bum lifting. We can't see because your mat is the same color as your tie. Yes! Wow! Lucky you. Amazing. So that's going to make a huge difference. She's not even sweating. She's just like hovering there with her bum there. So if I need to do that, I have to really work for it. I have to make my torso shorter so my arms feel longer. So if I want to do that, because my hands are barely touching the floor here, okay, I have to round, then move my bum back, and then lift my hips. Basically just popped up. So sometimes we got to adjust differently in our poses because of our proportions. It changes everything. So Celine, you have long arms. Lucky you. But sometimes it depends. We might have long arms and a long torso. Then it doesn't help you very much. If you have long arms and a short torso, that might help. So there's many variables. We're not all the same. Okay. And it changes everything. If you have really long legs and you're trying to do that arm balance today where you sent one leg back, and remember we're talking when one leg goes back, you have to lever more. What if you've got a way longer leg? What if your lever is like this?
Harder.
It's so much harder. You have to lean so much. What if you have a really little leg and long arms? Easy. So there's lots of things at play. Okay, we're going to do one more twist. Well, we'll do actually two more. Let's go to page 94. It's not in your assessment, but it's also a nice twist. And then we'll do page 95, which is in your assessment. So on page 94, you have Marichiyasana 3. Okay. We also do this one as a forward bend, and I didn't touch on it yesterday, so I'm going to touch on it now. So we can do this as a forward bend and also as a twist. So what I'm doing here is I bend my right leg up and I want to forward fold. I said it to you guys in the class yesterday, you need to allow your bum cheek to lift. And then you can reach forward and fold. If you keep your bum on the floor, it almost feels impossible. Okay. And the same when you move into the twist. If your bum is down, you can feel very like sunken in this pose. It's all right for you to lift up a little bit, that your sit bone is even a little bit lot more lift. Do you want to give it a go? Just for fun, this one. Come to sit on your mat with your legs out in Dandasana. Bend your right leg up. So when it's done as a forward fold, it's called Marichyasana 1. When it's done as a twist, it's Marichyasana 3. Okay. So when your right leg bends, sit forward so your bum cheek lifts off the floor. Can you feel how that helps to lean you forward? It's basically the trick to this pose that no one ever tells you. If you're unable to sit forward, what could we do?
Block.
Block. And this pose is awesome with a block. Reach your hands forwards towards your left shin, ankle, foot, and your right bum cheek will be a little bit off the floor. And that's what helps in this pose. Can you feel the difference? Try put your right bum cheek on the floor and then stretch forwards. It's almost impossible, right? So I started to love this pose when I figured out we can lift the bum. Then we'll do it as a twist. So reach your left arm up to the ceiling. Again, you can either wrap your hand around the front of the shin or hook your elbow on the outer thigh. And again, learn flat hand or straight cupcake hand at the back. Sit up nice and tall, and then turn through your tummy, ribs, and shoulders. You still want to feel that you're light on your right bum cheek. If you sit on your right bum, you might find that it makes you sink a bit, but it depends on your body. Sit up nice and tall, and then release and unwind. Changing legs, bending the left leg up. Allow the left sit bone to lift off the floor or sit on a block. Arms up, and stretch forwards towards your right foot. Helps a lot having the bum off the floor. Then reach arms up. Twist towards your left knee, either wrapping your hand around the front of the shin or hooking your elbow on the outer thigh. Keep sitting up nice and tall. Moving into your twist. And then gently release and unwind. Any questions on that pose? They're nice options for different forward bends and different twists with the one leg bent up. The trick to that pose when one leg is bent up towards you like that is the bent knee side, allow that sit bone to feel light. It changes the whole experience. All right, and our last twist that we'll be doing is in your assessment. One of my favorite poses. On page 95, you'll see it's called Parivrita, which means revolved. Janu Sirsasana, head of the knee. Okay, so remember we did Janu Sirsasana like this as a forward bend with our leg bent in tree pose. That was Janu Sirsasana, one leg bent forward fold. This one's a little bit different, and don't get confused now. When we do it as a forward fold, the bottom leg is straight in front. Okay? When we do it as a twist now, the leg is out to the side. Okay, so you need to note, even though they have a similar name, they're very, very, very different. They just have one leg bent the same. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So for Parivrita Janu Sirsasana, revolved head of the knee pose, we'll extend the left leg out to the side at about a 45-degree angle, and then bend your right leg up towards you. I'll show you first, or you can come with me if you want. Remember, it's a twist, okay? So it's not about forward folding and collapsing the chest towards the mat. It's about twisting your chest up towards the ceiling. Okay. So I'm going to have one hand on my shin, reach the right arm overhead, and twist my chest open. Top arm is straight and active as I take a side bend with a twist over towards my extended leg. And you'll feel a really nice stretch all the way down the right side of your body. So for most of us, top arm will be straight, twisting chest open. For those very flexy ones, you might lie your elbow on the floor of your left arm, and you might reach over and bind your left big toe, in which case you peek your head underneath the shoulder and twist chest open. It's quite an extreme version, but I know some of you can go there, so it is an option for you. For the rest of us, we're going to be a little bit more upright, keeping the twist with the top arm nice and straight. And then gently release. Hands behind you. And then we'll do a little switch of the legs to the other side. Okay. So right leg is out to the side, left foot is folded in, just comfortably. So the left sole of your foot is touching your right inner thigh. Right hand on the shin. Twist your chest open, because remember, it's a twist, not a forward fold. Twist your chest to the ceiling, left arm overhead. Keep the twist. That is the purpose of the pose, is the twist. And your arm is in line with your ear, like side angle pose. You might want to do that sweep again, which is helpful to get your arm in line with your ear. Yes, Lynn, that made a big difference there, I could see. Stretch that top elbow fully, so you can feel a nice stretch to the side of the body. And for those doing the extreme version, forearm on the floor, bind the big toe, twist, lean head back and twist. Again, your bum cheek might lift off the floor. It's fun. Hold it there for one more breath. I can see. So that's my favorite pose, so I had to join you in that one. Such a nice stretch. That's it, that's it, that's it. Twist, twist, twist. Yes, nice, everyone. It's a nice pose, hey? And then slowly release. Well done. Wow, stinky. That's amazing. Lovely pose to end off with. Okay, so I've got a few more minutes with you guys. Do you have any more questions for me? I'm going to do core poses. Only one. Belinda?
Is bottom foot foot that's out is flexed, hey?
Yes, it's flexed, toes up towards the ceiling. And Candy, top arm straight. Yes, that's it. Such a lovely pose. Okay, so I'm going to do boat pose with you for our last few minutes. On page 97, there's two versions of boat pose. We can do it as a pose with straight back, okay, which is going to work different muscles. And then we can do the pose with a rounded back. And you're going to tell me which one works your core more. So I'll show you and then we'll do it all together. Okay. So for boat pose, we have done it, even this morning, but we'll go through it step by step. I hold the back of my legs and I'm leaning back. So I rock back into my sit bones. I want to do full boat pose. So full boat pose refers to a straight back, okay? I bring my legs up to tabletop position and I'm trying to keep my back straight. Now you can keep your knees bent, that's perfectly fine because you want to keep a straight back, arms parallel. So if hamstrings are tight, knees can stay bent. Otherwise, if you want, you can also straighten your legs, your arms stay parallel to the floor. Okay, so that is full boat pose because the back is straight. It doesn't matter if the knees are bent or the legs are straight, it's still full boat because the back is straight. Does that make sense? Half boat pose is different because I'm going to round my back. Okay, I'm rounding my spine. So now I'm doing half boat pose. I bring my legs up, round my spine, arms out, legs straight. And pretty much I want my eyes and my toes in one straight line, if possible. So in the picture, it's very, very low. You don't have to be that low unless you're feeling killer strong. Round back. And then I can lift into full boat pose, straight back, and then round my back into half boat pose. You're going to do it now and tell me which one works your core more. Come to seated. Legs bent. straight back. Okay, so feel your back is straight here. That's what you're going to try and keep. Float your legs up to tabletop position, still holding back of knees. Check your back is still straight. Chest is lifted. Okay? Now you can extend your arms parallel to the floor. Option to straighten your legs, doesn't matter. Either one's fine. And then release. Okay, so you may have felt a little bit of work in the legs. Now I'm going to do half boat. So round back, round your spine. See how much you can round your back and round your shoulder blades. Bring your legs up. You're balancing more on the back of your pelvis here. And then extend arms and legs out. Try and bring your toes in line with your nose. Sit up for full boat pose, straight back. And then round your back for half boat pose. Do it again. Sit up straight, full boat pose, straight back. And then round your back, half boat pose. Which one's working your tummy muscles?
This one.
The half boat, right? Why?
You're rounding your back.
Yes. Because your spine is round, it works your tummy muscles more. And in the full boat, what muscles are working?
Hamstrings.
Your quads. Your hip flexors and your quads should be biting. Yeah, Chloe's smacking them. Yes. So that's the difference between full boat, straight back, is going to work your hip flexors and quads more. So it's a good leg workout. And then half boat, you round your back, you're going to work your abdominal muscles more. And that is the difference between full boat, half boat. Both of them are in your assessment. Okay. Lucky you. Okay. So I will finish up a lot of the poses the next time I see you. We've only got a few to go, not a lot. Some exciting ones ahead. Please, can you practice all of these poses? The ones that you'll be doing are on that list. Everybody has your asana review list that's been emailed to you with your homework right in the beginning. You need to practice all the poses on that list. So you might be missing a few, like headstands and handstands, which I'll teach you in a while. But pretty much the rest of them are on there. I recommend you video yourself so you can check yourself and check that you're doing everything you want to be doing in those poses. And at any point you're unsure if you're doing it right, or you're completely confused or totally lost, please WhatsApp me, send me a little video or a picture and just go, am I doing this right? Because I'm confused. Rather than being confused, please check. Okay. And then also read ahead for what's coming next weekend, so you know what we'll be up to. And I think it's next weekend we'll be meeting in smaller groups to go through all these poses. So I'll be checking. Okay. On that note, any other questions? Candy.
Hello. In the boat pose, your feet are together.
Yes.
And your knees?
Together. Both together.
Mine don't go.
It might just be the shape of your legs. Just feet together are fine, Candy, because you say your legs bow out a little bit. Here, I remember we chatted before.
Yeah, the cross-eyed knees.
So just feet together is perfectly fine. Wherever they go. Okay. Feet or knees together, whichever ones connect first.
Okay.
Any other questions with anything we've done this weekend? Anything else you want to ask? Kirsten?
Next week, if we are meeting in smaller groups, what are the groups doing?
I will email you. I will email your time slot. Normally we go in alphabetical order. So if you between A's and C's, you'll probably be in the first session. And so we go on. I think I'll have to check the schedule. I think it's over Saturday and Sunday. and you'll meet, I'll give you an allocated time slot. So you won't be with me the whole day on Saturday and Sunday, just 1 hour for your little asana review where I'll check in with you. So over the week, I'll email you your time slot, okay? Any other questions?
No.
Well done, everyone. I can see huge changes in your practices. It's looking really, really good. So well done this weekend. Celine?
Are those side crow poses, are those videos on the website where it says peak poses?
No, those peak poses are the classes that we've been doing. Okay, so you've got an arm balance, you've got a forward bend and a back bend. There's a twist one there, but you don't worry about that as much. Just for you to practice those classes during the week because you know you'll be doing one of them. Okay, the side crow, you're just going to do in your assessment. So there's no full class for that. You'll just be practicing that pose. Okay, so practice both versions and see how you go, Celine, just on your own.
Okay, I just wanted to know for the instructions and then I didn't have to go back.
So you know the session we've just done now will be recorded and put on YouTube, so you can also go back and listen to the instructions again if you want.
Yeah, I was just looking for a shortcut.
This is not on the website, it's on our YouTube page and you got sent that link, right? Okay. And if you're confused, send me a video and I'll let you know. Okay, well done everyone. Have a lovely break. Thank you. Catherine will see you and I think you got Claire later on. Enjoy the rest of your day. Super well done. You guys are doing great.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank